Inside, I want to kill myself. We are on an 0-7 run over the last 2 days. After tonight was just complete bullshit. So that's how I'm going to start off this show. Horrible Sunday, 1-5. I don't even know what to tell you about that. I just don't want to do this anymore. I have never seen anything like this, man. With the slump continuing, 2 straight losses, not a good day at all. 0-4. I just have not had a good season, man. What can this slump that I'm on? The slump continues. I've reached a new peak, actually. I'm gonna burn my Bruins hat, man. I don't know what is going on with the Bruins. March 8th, is that what it is? I don't even know. It's March 9th, I think. Who even knows, man? I don't know what day it is anymore. I don't even know what day it is anymore, man. Back with you after the worst day that I could possibly have. Back with you, as I always am. Until I die, at least. 0-2 yesterday, and yesterday did not go well for me. 0-5. The worst month that I've ever had in my 18 years doing this. I don't know what to even tell you about this anymore. Broke the slump yesterday as the slump discontinues. The slump continues. Somebody fucking kill me, please. I don't even know what I should do at this point other than potentially end it all. What's up, everybody? It's Toad back with you for Toadstool Sports now. Thursday? No, Wednesday. Wednesday, November 12th. Somebody gave me a downvote on the show yesterday. Somebody doesn't like the new branding. Well, guess what, baby? We're rolling with it. Somebody must just hate me. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that. People gotta hate, man. My amount of views actually went down a little bit, but we'll continue with this. We'll see. Hopefully I get more SEO out of this. Yesterday was a decent day on the show. I mean, it was either 2-1-1 or 3-1, depending on which numbers you got. We started off bad with Harvard. Harvard just completely shit the bed. I mean, what do you want? Like, what do you want me to say? I mean, that was a bad play, bad call. The money agreed with me. I mean, the market, that line went off at like 6, so there was market agreement with me on that. Still didn't even come close. Illinois, depending on the number that you got, I gave it out of 4 on the show, but it was actually a 3.5 throughout like the later part of the day. So hopefully people got a better number on that or played money line or whatever. They probably should have covered both numbers. I mean, they had like a double-digit lead in the second half. They let the whole thing slip away. I think Texas Tech actually took the lead at one point. Illinois got it back, and then it got down the stretch. You're thinking, all right, maybe they'll be able to cover this with intentional fouls or whatever at the end. They won by exactly 4, so that either pushed or you got the win with the 3.5, because 3.5 was pretty predominant out there later in the day. So, I mean, on the show, I guess we have to score it as a push, but yeah, the 3.5s are out there for quite a while. And then we did get a win on the Washington Capitals, easy 4-1 win there. I haven't looked at the box score to see if it was misleading or anything like that. That was a win. And then we did get the win in that ugly MAC game, where I was wrong about the other MAC game, which should have been even uglier. Kent State somehow pulled out a big win, but in the game that mattered, Western Michigan pulled out the win. That was a low-scoring, ugly back-and-forth game, but if you wanted Western Michigan in that game, you're going to have to expect more of a defensive battle in that game. They were able to do it. They almost threw the game away with stupid clock management at the end, as they basically like kneeled too early. So they were going to give Ohio like 20 seconds left to do something with it, but it wound up not mattering. But that was a little bit of stupid clock management there. They should have been, I mean, they were probably going to wind up having to like give the ball back anyway, like depending on how that worked out. But I mean, you shouldn't just kneel at that point. I don't know what that was, but Western Michigan still got it done. They became bowl eligible. They're still in the mix for the MAC championship game, which Ohio might not be anymore. Mr. Pinsey, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. NHL, I have 2 NHL plays today, and one of them is one of those. The other completely disagrees with one of those, and I think I agree with the other 2. Yeah, and one of the other ones is almost a play for me. And then we'll talk about. I have 10 plays today. 7 of them are college basketball. Even though it's not even a huge college basketball board today, I see like a bunch of situations and I like can't restrain myself. So hopefully we don't get into the territory of how bad I was in college basketball last year. But I think these situations are decent. There are a bunch of favorites again here, early season favorites. I'm going to have 2 NHL plays. Like I said, 1 NBA play. I don't love the NBA board. There's one play that I like. Let's get into it, man. As Dirty Sock knows that I always mention, oh yeah, I'm going to try to make this show go fast, and then I never do. I will point out, like, right away in college basketball, I think Georgetown is in a sandwich spot, so I will point that out. They just beat Maryland on the road. It's a pretty big win. I mean, Maryland probably not as good this year as they were last year, but that's a road win against a Big Ten team, and then they do have Clemson up next in a few days. So it's possible Georgetown kind of overlooks Binghamton here. Binghamton not good, though, and they might be outmatched here. Binghamton is coming off a loss, I believe, is a favorite at home to Niagara, though. Yeah, they were a small favorite in this game. Didn't have a good game. They were still winning the game by 7 late and probably should have won the game. They had a really bad shooting performance in the game. Binghamton did. So I would take the points with Binghamton in this one if I was going to play it. Georgetown looks like they took some money early, though, and they're all the way up from 24.5 to 27.5. So maybe the market is disagreeing, or maybe it was just setting up the number just to get an even bigger number. Although once you get into numbers in that range, it's like they're not really key once you get up there. But I'll leave that one alone just because I think it might be a little bit of a mismatch. Number 20, Tennessee gets North Florida, who is playing multiple big games in a row. They did get blown out by Florida in their first game. Not really a good sign for North Florida, even though Florida is good. Tennessee hasn't really been challenged yet, although North Florida might not offer much of a challenge either. Tennessee's a 41.5-point favorite. They're the second biggest favorite on the board today, I think, out of the games that are lined. And the one that's the biggest favorite is hilarious, and they'll never be that big of a favorite again. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of want to skip like most of the rest of these games. I just don't have a whole lot else to say about a lot of these games. Just pointing out some of the bigger teams that are playing today. I mean, getting into those are like some 6 p.m. games. Some of those are getting to 7 p.m. here. We do have, VCU's playing St. Peter's. VCU's coming off a pretty big game against Utah State, and they do have NC State up next, so could be a little bit of a sandwich spot. They lost to Utah State by 3, and that was a neutral site game in Texas, which I think the location favored Utah State a little bit in that game. It's possible VCU overlooks St. Peter's a little bit here, even though we remember St. Peter's making that tournament run a few years ago and making the tournament again not that long ago. St. Peter's played, I guess, respectably in a game on the road at Seton Hall earlier, although Seton Hall's not really that good. Better than St. Peter's, though. VCU's a 22-point favorite here, but if you forced me to pick that game, I would probably fade them. VCU, kind of known for playing slower pace as well. I don't know if that's still the case this year, though. Apparently it's not. They're what did they get Shaka Smart back? They're 8th in tempo this year. That's insane because they were one of the slower teams in college basketball last year. So seems like a big-time style shift for VCU there. I still got to get used to what these teams are this year. Indiana's playing Milwaukee. Indiana's going to be a big favorite here as well. They did just beat Marquette. Pretty satisfying win. They're putting up 100 points against Marquette in an easy win. So is it a letdown spot? I don't know, potentially. Indiana, 89% of the tickets, only 72% of the cash on them as of right now, even though they initially had the line driven up on them from 22.5 to 25. I would fade Indiana in that game as well, taking the points if I was going to play it, which I'm not interested in. St. Joe's is at Virginia Tech. St. Joe's coming off beating one of their Philadelphia little brothers in Drexel, beating them by double digits. Now, this is their first true road game of the season. Although, against Virginia Tech, you got to think they're going to at least get up for this game. It's a big game against an ACC team. But St. Joe's still a tough spot because it's their first true road game. Virginia Tech, though, they're coming off a pretty big win over Providence. They beat a Big East team, so it could be a little bit of a letdown spot. And that was a barn burner of a game where both teams scored over 100 points. So Probably got to slightly lean to St. Joe's in this one. The money seems to kind of agree with it. Virginia Tech went up a little bit to 11.5 with juice, but 73% of tickets, 95% of the cash on St. Joe's. I'm not going to disagree with that one either. Anything else of interest here? I don't know. I mean, I was looking to maybe fade Mercyhurst because we know they pulled off that upset over Loyola Chicago, but they played another game in between the two against the Division II team, so I'm not as interested in looking to fade them here. They're going to Canisius, who's been pretty bad recently in the MAAC. Although I think when I looked, the money was indicating on Canisius anyway. I mean, Mercyhurst is still not very good. And now it looks like the line flipped in the other direction. So it was indicating on Canisius earlier, and now it's all the way on Mercyhurst. Pick them with juice now. I mean, I just figured I would point that out just because I had initial thoughts on it, but I don't really have any good thoughts on it now. It's kind of a, it's like a lakes battle there because Mercyhurst is in Erie, Pennsylvania on Lake Erie, and then Canisius is in Buffalo. So just kind of up the coastline of the lake there, basically. Canisius, I mean, it's not really a rivalry because Mercyhurst joined Division I recently. And Canisius, their biggest rival is still Niagara because they're in the same conference and they're close, but those games will happen later in the season in conference play. Ugly total in that game, though, down to minus 130, or excuse me, down to 137 on the total. Houston, number one in the country, gets Oakland. Oakland has battle tested themselves, man. They played on the road against Michigan and Purdue, and now Houston. Very, very difficult early schedule for Oakland, and they actually played pretty close against Purdue. They came to within 10 of Purdue. I mean, they started falling apart late in the game, but they were still within striking range of Purdue with like 6-7 minutes left in the game. So after a big effort like that, they might be in a fade spot here. So I would probably look to lay it with Houston in this one, although they're up to 29 now, 26.5 up to 29. Laying 29 points with Houston is definitely a bit of an ask because they do play really, really slow, although they're potentially the best team in the country, although KenPom has Duke and then Gonzaga and then Houston right now. I mean, these KenPom rankings are shifting all over the place right now, so not a ton to take away from that. 67% of tickets on Houston, 91% of the cash on Oakland, though, so Stacks, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. So the money is kind of indicating against Houston right now, but I would probably lay it with Houston if I was going to play it. Vandy is playing Eastern Kentucky. Vandy's going to be a big favorite here. They're coming off beating UCF and scoring over 100, which is a bigger game against a Big 12 team. Eastern Kentucky did just lose to Western Kentucky, which is a big game for them, too. So, I mean, I'm not interested in this game at all, but Vandy up from 27.5 to 28 on the line. Big favorite there, but you could potentially argue Vandy's in a little bit of a letdown spot there. Eastern Kentucky, this is their first true road game, so not going to be an easy ask for them. The whole show's the best bet segment, man. Let's get into it now. This first one up is, this line is already moving. Oral Roberts plus the points is going to be my first of 7 college basketball plays. I did not expect anywhere near 7 today. It's just the way that it worked out, and I don't know. Maybe I'm not restraining myself enough. But I don't want to get into that situation where I'm just like, you know, like last year I just started sucking in college basketball. I don't want that to happen. I am up in college basketball this year. But yes, Oral Roberts plus the points here. This line is already moving. It's already down to 6.5 from 10. It was 9.5, like basically 40 minutes ago. I saw the number all over the place when I just looked between like 8.5 and 6.5. I think if you want to get it, you got to take at least 7.5, I would say. And I think you'll probably find it out there because 7 is the key number. But the money seems to be very much agreeing with me on Oral Roberts in this game. First of all, this is against Tulsa, and Tulsa's not that good. Not that Oral Roberts is, but this is a big game for Oral Roberts. It's a bigger game for them than it is for Tulsa because Oral Roberts is the little brother, basically, to Tulsa in the city of Tulsa. Oral Roberts is also in Tulsa. So this is always a huge game for Oral Roberts, even more so than it is for Tulsa. So to start the handicap, I usually want to look to that little brother, especially if they're getting points, because you know you're going to get a big effort out of them for the most part. Then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, well, Tulsa's 2-0. what have they really done so far? They beat a Division II team, and then they beat Rhode Island. I mean, Rhode Island's had some decent years recently, but I don't know how good Rhode Island really is this year. They're in the Atlantic 10. Ken Bum has them outside of the top 100, so doesn't really have them as a great team. He has Tulsa 8 ranking spots higher and also out of the top 100, so I don't think there's much you can really take away from this. Tulsa was an underdog, and it was the Veterans Classic, though, so this game was in Annapolis, Maryland. So this was like one of the college basketball Veterans Day weekend things, basically. Although this was on November 7th, but they played at the Naval Academy. This is a big game, dude. So Tulsa was an underdog, like I said. Somebody like Rhode Island in the A10, you're going to consider that to be a bigger opponent than Oral Roberts, and obviously it is. Tulsa pulled off the big win in this game. If you look at what happened in the game, it was definitely an outlier type of situation here, even though Tulsa did out-rebound URI. Tulsa shot almost 52% from the field and 50% from three, while Rhode Island was only 45.8% from the field and a little bit of a low 33.3% from three. Rhode Island also losing the turnover battle. So Tulsa had an outlier shooting performance in this one. You got to expect that to regress a bit. So that's part of the handicap here as well. I think they maybe won't do as well here. Now they get Oral Roberts, and who do they have next in 5 days? Well, yeah, they have one power conference opponent on their entire schedule this year. Tulsa does. I don't think they have any other ones. And it's their next game against Kansas State. So I think they're going to look ahead to that game against Kansas State as well. So this looks like pretty much a sandwich to me for Tulsa. It is going to also be their first true road game of the season, even though hilariously it is in their home city of Tulsa. It's at Oral Roberts Arena. Although Tulsa, I mean, they're going to get some fans showing up there, sure. But, I mean, whatever. Like, every other part of this has to be looking at Oral Roberts here. Oral Roberts took a loss, but it was on the road against Oklahoma State. And they played, I would say, respectably. They lost by 24. I mean, Oklahoma State, they're a power conference team. They were over a 20-point favorite in the game, so I'm not going to really take much away from that from Oral Roberts. They didn't get completely embarrassed in the game. They bounced back and got their first win of the season against a Division II team or whatever. So now they have a little bit of momentum coming into this game. They're at home. And, you know, this is going to be one of the bigger games on Oral Roberts' schedule, man, because, again, Tulsa is still like their bigger brother in the city of Tulsa. So we'll take Oral Roberts plus the points here. I know Ken Bum has them ranked very, very poorly at 302nd in the country, so they're like almost 200 ranking spots lower than Tulsa. I get it, but we're getting a bunch of points at home. Oral Roberts, at the very least, I think will try to speed this game up, which is also something that Tulsa I don't think wants to do. Tulsa's in like the slowest third of paces, of tempos, and Oral Roberts speeds the game up, so that might throw Tulsa out of their element a little bit as well. That's what we're going with here, Oral Roberts plus the points. It's mostly about the situation. And again, I'm not restraining myself today, like I said. On that one, the money seems to really agree with me. Minnesota is at Missouri. I think both these teams are going to get up for this game. This is a pretty big game between a Big Ten team and an SEC team. This is going to be Minnesota's first true road game, and it is going to be a pretty tough environment and a place they don't usually go, Missouri. And I think both teams don't really have any they haven't been battle-tested at all yet, really. Neither team has. They're both undefeated, mostly playing bad teams. People might, like, dock Missouri a little bit or knock them for not playing well against Southeast Missouri State. Although Southeast Missouri State, you know they were going to get up for a game against Missouri. I think Missouri probably just took them very lightly. SEMO is also one of the better teams in their conference recently, at the very least. Missouri bounced back nicely and blew out VMI. I think you got to think they're going to be up for this game. Both teams will be, but I'm probably going to lean to laying it with Missouri here. They're up from 6.5 to 6.5, or they're up from 6 to 6.5 with juice. Although the money looks like it's coming back towards Minnesota. I mean, maybe the line started hitting 7 and some bettors took the 7 because it is a key number. But I would probably lay it if I was going to play it. 59% of tickets on Missouri, 58% of the cash on Minnesota. Again, I don't really have much to that handicap other than it being the first true road game for Minnesota. I think that adds the edge to Missouri in that game, and that's really what I could say about it. Next game on the slate is another one of my plays. We're going to take the one with UTSA at Texas State. I'm not even convinced that UTSA isn't the better team here, and they're only getting, actually they are the better team because, Texas State has moved up from 1 to 2 now, so you can actually get a better number on UTSA here. So we're actually probably going to wind up calling this like 2 or 2.5. So whatever it's going to be, hang on, we'll call it 2 for now. Maybe it'll be 2.5. I like it, even though the money looks like it's coming in against us on this. I think UTSA is actually the better team for one thing, which Ken Pom confirms as he has them at the 198th ranking spot right now. Though, again, these rankings are in flux, but he has Texas State down at 242nd. I believe he actually has UTSA better on both offense and defense. He does, although the defenses are very close. UTSA has a somewhat substantially better offense so far in Ken Pom's rankings. Texas State does play slow, though. That's the one thing. They're in the bottom 60 of tempo, and UTSA tries to speed it up. So Texas State may be able to slow it down, and that will hurt UTSA. But even so, I'm still looking for UTSA in this game, man. I don't think Texas State is that good. And Texas State, they just played really tough on the road against Tulane. And by the way, the results prior to that did not look good for Texas State. They got absolutely destroyed at Bowling Green, although I think Bowling Green is one of the more decent MAC teams right now, but still losing 83-48 to Bowling Green. Pretty bad. Texas State followed it up with a win at home, which is their only win against a Division II team. And yes, this is going to be their first home game against a D1 school, but still, they just went to Tulane. This is a much bigger game. Tulane was a 12.5-point favorite, and Texas State looked like they were going to win this game for a large portion of it. Texas State was absolutely blowing them out of the building. Texas State was winning this game by, I think, 20 points early in the game. They still had a double-digit lead into the second half. Lost the lead, took it back, and they still were leading by small amounts in the final minutes of the game. Fell behind, basically caught all the way back up, got back to within 1, and then fell just short. So after a huge performance like that from Texas State, I'm looking to fade a team that does that when they play that well, almost pull off a big upset like that. We're going to look to fade Texas State off of that. As far as the stats in this game, Texas State also shot 50% from three-point range. Yes, they won the rebound battle, which is a good sign for them, but 50% from three, probably not really something that's that repeatable, so a little bit of an outlier there. As far as UTSA is concerned, clicked on the wrong team. Yeah, I know this is their first true road game, so I do worry about this a little bit, but UTSA just had an ugly game as a favorite against SIU Edwardsville. UTSA, they were an 8.5-point favorite down to a 6.5-point favorite in this game, but they wound up losing the game outright. And UTSA was abysmal shooting in this game. Yes, they got out-rebounded as well, which I don't love, but 28.2% from the field, 24.1% from three. They won the turnover battle and still lost the game by 17. They just could not shoot at all in this game. And SIUE shot 43% from three, basically. But the outliers are really here on UTSA. They lost as a favorite, so I think they're going to be super angry here. And they shot horribly in this game. You've got to think that that's going to regress or progress back to some sort of mean here. So I still like the setup of this. The money doesn't seem to agree with me right now. We're going to take the points with UTSA in that game, though. Minnesota, 15 road unders in a row, according to Jeffrey. Interesting. All right, that is something to note, although Missouri has been a really fast-paced team recently, so I don't know if I'd really want to go under in a Missouri home game when they could probably control the pace. Where are they at here? They look a little bit slower relatively this year at 108th in tempo, but that's still in the faster third. And they don't play good defense at 80th defensively, so I don't know, man. As far as Minnesota, I think the fact that it's at Missouri, I would not really want an under in that game because I think Missouri has the better chance to control the tempo there. The total's already gone up multiple points, up to 157. Yeah, I don't agree with an under in that one. The Road Runners, yeah. Their hashtag should be meep. All right. That's probably my least favorite of every single one of my plays today, though. I'm almost tempted to retract it, but we'll go with it just because of the setup. But the one thing I don't like is that it's their first true road game, but it is still in the state of Texas. So, it's not like it's not a totally like out of bounds travel spot. You know what I mean? It'll be in San Antonio. Marquette gets Little Rock. Marquette coming off that loss to Indiana, their first loss of the season. And they do have a Big Ten matchup up next against Maryland and then Dayton after that. So it looks like kind of a sandwich spot. And sometimes the team's a little bit hungover after they take their first loss. So I would probably look to take the points with Little Rock in this one. They did just lose at Milwaukee, but now 2 games in a row in the Milwaukee area. So now I assume they're just staying in the area, so they're adjusted to the area now at the very least for Little Rock. So the setup, to me, looks like Little Rock might be the right way to go, even though Marquette is all the way up from a 16.5-point favorite to a 21-point favorite. I hate these early college basketball market reads, to be honest, dude. Like, it is so difficult to read these games early because you have the market moving a ton, and then there might be like some take back. Sometimes you don't know like what is actually causing that move. Is it real? Is it not? Who knows? You don't really see the percentages yet. So I try to just rely on my situational handicapping. Texas State is the better rebounding team. That is correct. That is true. So we are fading that, which I don't love fading the better rebounding team either, to be honest, but I'm doing it anyway because of the situational setup there. All right. NC State gets UNC Greensboro. UNC Greensboro obviously going to be in kind of like a little brother situation here. And NC State does have VCU up next and then Seton Hall and Auburn. So they do have bigger games coming up after this. NC State's all the way up from 26 to 32 with juice, 86% of tickets, 89% of the cash on them. I feel like it's almost useless to talk about these, but I could see NC State maybe being in a look ahead. Greensboro probably will show up for this, UNCG, I should say. They're also at 0-2 right now, but they lost at Kansas State. I mean, you can't blame them for that loss, although they did not play competitively. And they did just lose as a favorite at home to Elon. Not Elon Musk, but Elon beat them in overtime. Kind of an ugly loss for UNC Greensboro in that one because they should have won the game, basically. They were a home favorite, so they were expected to win. And Elon shot poorly. It was just really the whole game was turnovers, and Elon did out-rebound them, but 11-4 turnover edge for Elon in that game was kind of the story of it. So kind of expecting a little bit of a bounce back from UNCG, and I mean, they won't be intimidated because they did already play Kansas State on the road, so they're kind of used to it by now. So I would take the points with UNC Greensboro in that one, although they look like they might not be as good as they were last year. Oklahoma State gets Prairie View. Oklahoma State's going to be a huge favorite here. I mean, I don't know what else to say about this. They're at 32 as a favorite here, not moving. They did just beat Texas A&M, though, so that was a big win against an A&M team that's been a tournament team the last couple of years, and they beat them by 24, so that's a very satisfying win, so it could be a letdown spot, but Prairie View A&M is so bad that they might just get run out of the building, so I just can't do it. Texas is hosting Fairleigh Dickinson. Texas bounced back after the loss in their opening game to Duke, which can't really blame them for losing to Duke. We know Duke is good. Texas, nice win over Lafayette to bounce back from it. Nothing really upcoming, so I wouldn't say this is a terrible spot for Texas. Fairleigh Dickinson just played decently at St. Peter's as an underdog, although St. Peter's actually did cover that number. Texas is just sitting at a 31.5-point favorite. That one I would have less of a tendency to want to actually fade Texas because the situational setup just doesn't look enticing to me. UT Martin at Bradley, I just bring up because I messed up and I didn't realize UT Martin had pulled off an upset at UNLV in their first game as 16.5-point underdogs. So my mistake, I should have laid the points with UNLV coming off of that bad loss. I think UNLV did bounce back in a big way and win and cover their next game. So I should have been on UNLV after that, and I don't know how I didn't see it. But UNLV, yeah, my mistake. As far as UT Martin, normally I would have been saying, yeah, they would have been in a letdown spot after that big upset, but they played some cupcake in their next game and got a win, so it wasn't a spot where they were going to really be fadeable. But unfortunately, I missed UNLV being in a very positive spot after that loss. UT Martin is now going to Bradley, and then they do have Florida State up next. I think Bradley is kind of a big game, though, because Bradley seems to always be in the mix in the Missouri Valley. Bradley is coming off a big game against Central Michigan, beating them by 30. Well, not a big game because Central Michigan's not good in basketball, really, but 31-point win, and they do have San Francisco up next. It is possible Bradley takes this game less seriously. Might be feeling good about themselves after a blowout loss. They've gone up to a 15.5-point favorite from 15. 92% of tickets, 99% of the cash on Tennessee Martin here, which I think really there's no public involvement in this game for the most part. I think that's all just kind of professional money on UT Martin. I'm not going to disagree with it. Next play for me is going to be Utah State. We're going to lay the 20.5 with Utah State. They're already up to 22, so again, dude, I try to do these shows early, and the line moves so fast. I've got landscaping outside that's pissing me off. We're running through this college basketball slate a little bit faster than yesterday, though. They're already in the 9 p.m. slate. But, yeah, I mean, you'll probably still find like 21.5 out there right now, I hope. Again, it's get the best number that you can. 20.5 was out there early, but when you get up into those numbers, I mean, yeah, every possession matters, so you want to get the best number, but it's not really a key number. But this is against Weber State, and yes, normally I would say Weber State's in a little brother situation because they're a Utah school, so you'd want to potentially look to take the points with Weber State, but not so fast, because look at what Weber State just did on Saturday, man. They were in a little brother situation in that game too, and probably an even bigger one against Utah, because I think Utah is still kind of considered to be the big boy in Utah over Utah State, even though Utah State has been the better basketball program recently. That was still a crazy game for Weber State, and the odds makers are telling you Utah State's actually better than Utah. Utah was a 15.5-point favorite in this game. Weber State took them into overtime in this game and fell just short, losing by 3 in overtime. That is brutal, dude. That was the game that Weber State could have had. They could have won this game. They were winning late in the game. They were actually winning for a huge portion of it. They were winning for almost the majority of regulation, actually. They had a double-digit lead with 8 minutes to go, and they wound up falling short and losing. That is brutal. Like, I don't see how Weber State gets back up off the mat after that, man. Both teams didn't shoot well, but Utah shot really poorly in the game. Weber State actually out-rebounded them, which is interesting. Utah shot 40.3% from the field and 28.1% from threes, so I'm expecting Utah State to shoot better than that in this game, needless to say. So that was part of the reason why that happened. But yeah, even though Weber State ideally would like to get up for this game, they put so much effort into that game against Utah. I don't see how they really show up with a huge effort here again against Utah State. Utah State being better as well. I had a little bit of a hesitation because I know Utah State did have that pretty big win against VCU, but that game wasn't even on primetime television, man. It probably should have been. It was a good game. Utah State got the win. That was in Texas. But now this is going to be Utah State's first home game against a D1 team, because they played a home game to start the season against Westminster, Utah, Division II, whatever, and blew them out, but whatever. This is going to be, I think they're actually going to be focused on this because it is their first Division I home game, even though you could say the same thing about Texas State. I like it. They have an extra day off compared to Weber State, too, so Weber State played that big game, and that was on Saturday. Utah State's been off since Friday. Although, yes, they're traveling further because Weber State is just staying in Utah. But still, I like it for Utah State here. A little bit of extra time to recover from that win. I don't think they'll really be in a letdown spot here. I think the spot is so much worse for Utah State that I expect, for Weber State, that I expect them to get run out of the building. Ken Baum has Weber State at 270th overall. Just not good. He's got Utah State 40th in the country, so a legit team, needless to say. So that's the handicap there. And even though Weber State did face Utah, he still has Utah State as having faced the more difficult schedule so far. So he has VCU as a better team than Utah, which I agree with. Although that's not really necessarily the way to necessarily handicap it. But really the crux of that handicap is Weber State is just in a horrific spot. It's like so bad that I think you just got to almost blindly fade them. So that's the handicap there. UC San Diego at Fresno is interesting because this UC San Diego team won the Big West last year. They're one of the staples of the Big West now, even though they're pretty new to Division I. But this is their first true road game. I know it's still in California, but Fresno is actually, I think, a favorite in this game. And you know Fresno's going to be up for this because they They just haven't been good recently, although actually it's flipped from Fresno being a 1-point favorite to UC San Diego being a 1-point favorite, but 67% of tickets, 97 or 92% of the cash on Fresno, so the money's actually taking it with Fresno. I think after what UC San Diego did last year, the public is going to have a tendency to take them because Fresno has just been pretty much useless in basketball for a while, but the odds makers seem to be telling you that Fresno may not be that bad this year. Ken Bum has them 177th. Maybe UC San Diego might be a little bit down this year. Yeah, Ken Bum has them at 136th, so he only has them slightly, well, not, yeah, I mean, he has them about 40 ranking spots higher, which isn't that much over Fresno, so I just thought that was interesting. UC San Diego is definitely not as good as they were last year. Let's just put it that way. Where last year they were like a top 30 team in the Ken Bum rankings. Next up, we're in favorite territory, man. We got all our favorites. We got the underdogs out of the way. We got a ton of favorites here now. We're gonna lay it with Colorado State against Cal Poly. Colorado State actually went down from 19 to 18. I saw 17.5 out there. This one hasn't moved a lot, so I don't know if that's a good sign or not. Colorado State, I mean, I know they're not as good as they were last year, and last year they made a little bit of noise in the tournament. They won as a 12 seed, even though they were actually a favorite against Memphis, who just wasn't that good and had injury issues. I picked Colorado State in my bracket there, but Colorado State did almost upset Maryland in the tournament. Colorado State got hot at the right time last year. They're not as good this year, but I don't think this is a good spot for Cal Poly at all, and Cal Poly is still worse than Colorado State and worse than their record looks. I mean, yeah, Cal Poly, they're 2-1 and their only loss is at USC, so that's not a bad resume so far. But look at what they just did in their last game. They were in Seattle on Saturday. Seattle was a 10.5-point favorite in this game and actually took the money. And if you look at what happened in this game, I don't know what happened in this game. Seattle was literally winning, like after they were losing at 1 point early and then another point later in the first half. Seattle took the lead back and they were winning for the entirety of the rest of the game until the final seconds of the game when Cal Poly wound up somehow escaping with a 3-pointer like right at the end of the game to retake the lead right at the end and win. And they were losing for almost the entire second half until that last shot. I mean, that was a ridiculous escape from Cal Poly. They pulled off that upset right out of their ass. So I think they're going to be in a letdown spot after that, man. They shouldn't have won that game, even though statistically I don't think it was that crazy one way or the other. I don't think it was really an outlier. Both teams actually shot fairly poorly in the game. Ton of turnovers on both sides. Yeah, Cal Poly did lose the turnover battle, and they won the rebound battle and won the game, but this is going to be a different animal, Colorado State. I mean, I think Colorado State's still better than Seattle. And this is going to be Cal Poly having to go into elevation. So Cal Poly has not left the Pacific time zone yet, the Pacific coast. Now they have to go into high elevation. That could affect them a little bit. Colorado State isn't going anywhere. They're just staying at home. Yeah, they've beaten 2 cupcakes. They haven't faced a difficult schedule yet. I get it. But you only play who's in front of you at this point in the season. And they're not a misleading 2-0, really. I mean, it's just what they did. They beat Omaha, who was a tournament team last year, although I talked about how overrated they are. But that's what Colorado State's coming off of. They don't really have anything upcoming. I mean, they do play Loyola next on the road, but I don't really think that's cause for a look ahead. We're going to go with Colorado State in this one, man. I just think the spot is really bad for Cal Poly. Cal Poly also notoriously plays really fast and don't play defense. You see Colorado State here, they're actually in the top 30. They're 32nd offensively in Ken Bum's rankings, although they're below 100 defensively. So Colorado State they shoot well and they don't play defense, even though they're actually a slow-paced team. They're in like the bottom 50-something in pace. 62nd overall, which isn't terrible, according to Ken Bum here. Although I don't love teams necessarily that profile as a slow-paced team that doesn't play defense. I don't love that. But Cal Poly is like a fast-paced team. Yeah, they're 3rd in the country in tempo, and they're going to have to go to Colorado State in a bad spot already. And Colorado State is one of the bottom 60 in tempo. So Colorado State is going to try to slow this down, which might throw Cal Poly totally out of their element. And yes, I know you don't necessarily want to lay a ton of points with a slowdown team like this. I do preach against that, but in this spot, I'm going to make an exception. The number isn't that high, and it's still, I mean, this is college basketball, where a lot of points still get scored, and the total is actually fairly high in this game at 167, which does worry me a little bit because I think Cal Poly is absolutely correlated to an over in this game. But even so, yeah, we're going to do it. We're going to take Colorado State. They're the better team on both sides. They're way better offensively, with Cal Poly at 248th in Ken Palm's rankings offensively. Actually better defensively at 203, although that's relative. And they're the 233rd team in the country. We know Colorado State's the way better team, so they'll be the best team that Cal Poly has faced so far. Seattle, Ken Palm has them at 137th, and really weak offensively, so Colorado State's also going to be a much better offense than what Cal Poly has faced so far. We're going to lay it with Colorado State. Colorado State's coach is Farouk Manash. Whoa. He's the guy who hit the three-pointer that busted up some of my bracket in 2009. Is that when it was? Way back in the day, he hit that three-pointer to knock Kansas out in that 9v1. Might have been 2011 maybe, whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about. Dude, I liked Colorado State's coach, though, last year, getting them to the tournament. What's his name? Where did he go? He's a good coach. I don't know why I can't remember his name now. The guy they had was a really good coach, though. But, yeah, Farouk Manash. Don't know how good of a coach he is. We'll see. But, yeah, I mean, that would worry me a little bit, especially if Farouk Manash is new to head coaching, because he's still pretty young, right? Like, he wasn't in college that long ago. If he's the guy I'm thinking of, which I think he is, right? He was on Northern Iowa. Yeah. Interesting. But, yeah, I like how it sets up for Colorado State in that one, so that's where my handicap leads us there. Or leads me if you don't want to play it. That's also fine. Okay. What other games we got that are of note here? We do have a tournament going on in Hawaii. Hawaii, like always, hosts some early season tournament, and it seems totally random which teams are going out there. And I think this year it's set up for Hawaii to maybe win this tournament, because the first game tonight is Manhattan and Utah Tech. I mean, those are not good teams. Manhattan having to go all the way from literal Manhattan, they're in New York City, all the way to Hawaii. Utah Tech, a little bit less of a travel spot for them. Maybe that's why they're up from 1 to 2.5 here. Utah Tech getting some of the early money, but 57% of tickets on them, only 56% of the cash on Utah Tech now. So maybe some of the money coming back on Manhattan, maybe some difference of opinion there. I think it's a very weird spot for Manhattan, though, so I'm not going to disagree with Utah Tech in that one. I just don't really have a strong opinion, but it's interesting. We got that Hawaii tournament going on, and the second game of the night in that tournament is more hilarious than that one. Next up, we're going to go back to the well on this, and hopefully I don't get screwed again. We're going to go right back, and we're going to lay the exact same number that we did the other time with Oregon. 15.5 coming up all the time, man. We're going to do it. Oregon against South Dakota State this time. And yes, I know South Dakota State, I think they're probably a better team than Rice, so it's a little bit concerning. South Dakota State's usually in the mix in the Summit, although they're actually only 163rd. So they're only actually 10 ranking spots higher in Ken Palm's rankings than Rice. So they're almost even, which is probably why the spread is almost even here. South Dakota State, speaking of Northern Iowa, oh my God, everything's coming full circle here. South Dakota State just played in Northern Iowa as 10.5-point underdogs, and they almost they came somewhat close to pulling off an upset in this game. Let's put it that way. They played really competitively. They only lost by 7. As far as the game flow, I mean, they were hanging in this game. They were down 5 with 7 minutes left. They were down 5 with 6 minutes left, actually. Actually, they were down 5 in the final minute, too, so it was still a 2-possession game at that point. So they played really, really tough in this game as a double-digit underdog, and now they have to go out to the Pacific Coast for the first time. And I know this handicap didn't work when I did it with Rice, but it's a similar spot here, and I'm going to do it again because I don't think Oregon can be this bad right now. I mean, I know they're probably down a little bit this year, but I think they still have Dana Altman there. I mean, I still think he's got to get his guys, like drill them and get them in like bounce back mode, focus mode here. Because, well, again, I don't like the spot for South Dakota State going out to the Pacific Coast for the first time. It's going to be difficult. As far as Oregon here, they played really badly in their first 2 games now against Hawaii and Rice, which is why I went with Oregon in this game, and they did not cover. It was never really that close to being a cover, although they were up they were almost up double digits later in the game. So, they started kind of pulling away, but didn't. But look at how bad Oregon was at shooting in this game. They won the rebound battle, and won the turnover battle, but they shot 32.7% from the floor, 25% from three versus Rice, 40.7%. Again, I think those percentages are all pretty major outliers. Again, I just don't think Oregon can continue to shoot this horribly. And yeah, I know they have Oregon State up next, and then Auburn, and then San Diego State, USC, UCLA. Those are all big, big games. So I get it. This is their last cupcake, but I think they got to be focused here because, again, they just played so poorly in these first two games, and they're staying at home. I think they're going to be angry and realize that they escaped in those first two games. And Oregon State, by the way, that's still a bigger game for Oregon State than it is for Oregon. Oregon State's always been the little brother to Oregon, and now that Oregon State's in that, they got kind of bastardized, and now they're in the WCC, whereas Oregon moved up to the Big Ten. I think that makes it more meaningful for Oregon State as well. But, yeah, I like it. I like Oregon in this one. I don't know what the number's been doing here. Where are they at? If I spell it right. They've gone up a little bit from 15.5 to 16.5 with juice now. So, again, it's a number that's moving up, so you kind of got to get on this. Although 67% of tickets on them, 70% of the cash on South Dakota State right now. Again, it's hard to read into these percentages. Yes, it's not a high total at 142.5, and the total's gone down. But still, I mean, it's still basketball, and there's still a lot of points to be had here. So I'm going to still go with it. As far as Oregon is concerned, Ken Bum still has them at 56th in the country, which I know you don't want to read into these rankings too much right now, but they're not bad. He does have them as a better defensive team than offensive team, though, mid-tempo, and he does have them at 40th in luck, which does worry me slightly, I guess. But South Dakota State, yes, I know he has them as more of an unlucky team, but they're just worse. They're 163rd. They're not good on offense or defense. He has Oregon better in both. Oregon still plays a faster tempo than South Dakota State does, I think, so Oregon will try to speed them up a little bit here. Yeah, and that's all I got to say about it. I know I'm fading Ken Bum's luck index in this one, which I don't love doing, but that's just the way that it is, man. Cal Poly, by the way, I forgot to mention, they're 10th in Ken Bum's luck index, by the way. So Cal Poly has severely overperformed so far, and we are fading them in their game against, Colorado State. So, yeah, at Colorado State, he has in the middle of the luck index, basically, at 139th, so... But back to Oregon. We're going to lay it with Oregon. They're still the better team. I still expect them to play better. Yeah, Medved, correct. Oh, Medved is at Minnesota now. They should actually improve then. I still like Missouri in that one today, but yeah, Medved is a good coach, man. Yeah, hell yeah. That's right. I don't know how I forgot his name. Nico Medved, yeah. Yeah, I like that guy, especially because I liked Colorado State. Colorado State was one of my bets in the tournament as well. One of the good bets that I had, and there weren't that many in the tournament. I apologize. Our buddies, Oregon State, by the way, are playing against North Texas. This is kind of an interesting game. And North Texas, off to a 3-0 start. They had one good win so far against Loyola, which beat us on the show barely because I had Loyola plus 1.5 in that game. This North Texas team, they really like to ugly the game up, play slow. I think they're going to be in the mix in the American Athletic here, North Texas. I think they went from Conference USA into this conference, I think. But I think they're going to be in the mix potentially to win this conference this year. This is their first true road game, though, and it's going to the Pacific Coast off a pretty big win over Loyola. And once they're out there, they do have to play St. Mary's next. So I think these are all big games, but you could kind of make the argument that St. Mary's is a bigger game than Oregon State because they're better than Oregon State, even though Oregon State's the former Pac-12 school. So maybe there's a little bit of a look ahead here for North Texas. It's a difficult spot being the first true road game for them. Oregon State's up from pick'em to 2.5 already. Money coming in on them, 61% of the cash on Oregon State, 50% of the tickets split evenly. I don't disagree with that one. I would look to Oregon State as well on this one. And I think it's actually better because Oregon State is a 6.5-point favorite in their last game, barely beat UIC. Illinois, Chicago, and Oregon State was actually losing this game later in the game. They were down 2-3 points pretty late in the game and had to come back and win, so they got a bit of a scare here. Some pretty bad shooting performances kind of on both sides in that game, but really the tale was even though Oregon State dominated the rebound battle, they had 21 turnovers, and that's something that you can clean up because turnovers are basically mental. So they had a bad game. Maybe they're even looking ahead to this. So I do agree with Oregon State in that one. That one hasn't made my card, although I kind of like it. Even though I still think maybe North Texas does still show up as well in that game because it is, I think, still kind of a big game for them. And they're not really, I don't consider them to really necessarily be off like a huge game, even though it was a big win over Loyola Chicago, and it was a semi-home game for Loyola Chicago. Yeah. But, yeah, the travel spot does suck for North Texas, and it is a bounce-back spot for Oregon State. Next up is another play, another favorite. We're going to lay 10 with Nevada in this one against Southern Illinois. I think this is a bad spot for Southern Illinois. They're 2-0 to start the season, but that's really misleading because their wins were against a non-Division I team, McKendree, and then they beat Kansas City. Not a good team either. And now this is going to be the first true road game for Southern Illinois, and it's in Nevada. Not an easy place to play, going into Reno. Nevada tends to play pretty well there. Southern Illinois, yeah, I mean, again, they're a false 2-0 basically so far. I mean, not that they did anything wrong, but they just haven't played anybody good. Sure, they'll try to get up for this game, but they're just not as good of a team. And what puts me over the top here with Nevada is they just played really poorly at home against Pacific. Nevada was a 13.5-point favorite in this game, and they almost lost the game outright. So I think that's going to scare them back into focus here, man. And if you look at what happened in this game, Pacific shot 45.5% from three. Major outlier there. Nevada only 26.7%. I don't think Nevada is as good this year, but still, I think those are like regression points there. Like, I don't think you're going to see another opponent shoot 45.5% from three against Nevada. Nevada dominated the rebound battle in this game by 15. They were clearly the better team in the game, and they escaped with the win after it was a back-and-forth game, close game for the entire second half. After Nevada was up early, and maybe they just thought it was going to be easy and failed to put it away, completely failed to put it away. They were actually down 5 with 6 minutes to go. Came back and barely escaped by 1. That's going to be a spot where they're going to show up to play here. And I apologize because this is another one where the line is way out of control. These college basketball numbers, it's gone all the way up from 7 to 12. I never saw a 7. I mean, 7 would be really, really great to lay here because it's a key number, and that's when teams stop intentionally fouling. But the best that I saw was 10. I think if you can get anywhere between 10, 11, whatever, I think it's probably still worth doing. Maybe for a little bit less money than maybe some of the other ones. I actually like this one more than some of the other plays, though. UTSA is my least favorite of these today, and I kind of want to even just take it off my card. But 83% of tickets, 97% of the cash on Nevada. I like this one. It's another one of those favorites that's the better team. I think they're going to be shocked back into focus there, so that's the deal there. Ken Baum has them only at 91st. He does have them as very lucky, though, at 13th. So, again, I'm fading Ken Baum's luck index here, but so be it, I guess. And he does have him as a slow-paced team. But, I mean, this Southern Illinois team, I don't think they're that good. He does have them at 127th, though. Wait, is it Southern Illinois? I guess it is, right? Yeah, so I don't know, man. I mean, there's not that much of a disparity in the Ken Baum rankings, I guess, which I don't know. I don't know how I didn't notice that, but he does have Nevada as the better team all around, except that he has them the more lucky team right now. And he does have them extremely slow, where Southern Illinois is in the top 100 pace-wise. Southern Illinois is also facing unbelievably weak strength of schedule. They have the 7th weakest schedule in all of basketball so far, so they haven't faced anybody yet. And even though Nevada hasn't had a difficult schedule yet, they're at least 261st in strength of schedule. So, and if Nevada slows this game down, it's going to throw Southern Illinois out of their element. So I do like those pacing collisions, even though I don't love, again, laying points with a slowdown team, but it's not that many points. So we're going to do it. The money seems to agree with it. Yeah, the Salukis, they're like Greyhounds or something. And then finally, we are going to have another play here, and it's going to be Seattle, who I just talked about a little while ago. We're going to lay points with Seattle in this one. I know Seattle's a bad offensive team and a good defensive team, and I think they play slow as well, so they're not really a team that you want to lay points with, but I think the spot just dictates this. It's against Eastern Washington. The money is disagreeing with me on this one, even though initially the line moved up from 6.5 to 8, and it's through the 8 now on Seattle. Never saw it at below the 7, though, so never saw 7, which, again, is a key number, so that would be ideal, but 67% of tickets on Seattle, 66% of the cash coming back on Eastern Washington. It's not a very high total at 149. I know with the Seattle team, it's probably not going to be a high total, but I just don't like the spot for Eastern Washington, man. I mean, they have played, I know they're very battle-tested, so yes, they have a very difficult strength of schedule, but look at what they've done so far. They played UCLA to within 6 to start the season. They went to Loyola Marymount and only lost by 8, so they covered some of the later numbers in that game. Then they went into High Elevation, another road game, and they took Colorado into overtime, a Big 12 team, Colorado, 16.5-point underdogs in Eastern Washington. This is one of my losses on the show, too. Colorado never was able to do anything. They got up by 9 at one point early in the second half. Looked like they could have maybe started pulling away. They never did, and Eastern Washington stayed in the game for the entirety of the rest of the game and sent it into overtime and wound up falling short. So, again, very similar to that Weber State situation, I think, where you got a team now that just played their guts out again in elevation. Now they're playing a 4th road game. I know they don't have a win yet, but they've just put in so much effort in these games, and now they're going to go out to Seattle. And, yes, Seattle probably is the worst opponent that they'll be facing so far. Yeah, they're worse than Loyola Marymount, but even so, I just think, I don't know how they get back up off the mat after almost pulling up that crazy upset. Seattle is one of the unluckiest teams in the country right now, 347th, really because of that Cal Poly win that just never should have happened. But that's the main part of this handicap here. And yeah, Seattle is a top 100 defensive team at the very least. And they're certainly better than Eastern Washington, who is down at 168th in Ken Bum's rankings. He's got Eastern Washington horrible defensively at 250th. He does have them as a somewhat faster-paced team at 117th. Somewhat unlucky, and they played a difficult schedule, I know, 45th, but even so, again, I don't like the spot at all. And I think it's a positive spot for Seattle because they were just at home against Cal Poly, and they were 10.5-point favorites in this game, like I said, and they had the lead for the entirety of the second half. Look at this percentage graph here, where Seattle was like more than an 80% chance to win for the entirety of the second half, basically. Somehow they lose on a three-pointer almost right at the buzzer, which was the only point they were losing after they took the lead in the early second half. Ridiculous. They never should have lost this game. They're staying at home, and you know they're going to be in a foul mood here. They're going to be angry, so I expect focus from Seattle on that one. So that's the final college basketball play there. And then in college basketball, we do have kind of an interesting one between Stanford and Montana State here. Stanford, an ACC team, of course, even though they play in the Pacific Coast. Stanford just blasted Montana State's biggest rival there. Not a whole lot to see from Stanford's side of things, but Montana State, they just lost to Denver at home as a 7.5-point favorite. So Montana State may have been looking ahead to the Stanford game. Bad game for Montana State in this one, and they were winning the whole game. This is another one of those where they were a high percentage to win this game the entire way. They were up double digits early. It was close later in the game, but they still had the lead later in the game, and they wound up falling short completely. Denver shot out of their minds, 58.2% from the field, 50% from three. Massive outlier situation there, although Montana State did also get out-rebounded here. Montana State shot terribly from three, 28.6%. After that, I kind of expect more focus out of them here, so I would lean to taking the points with Montana State against a Stanford team that I don't think is that good. 14.5 is the line on that one, 50% of the tickets, and 99% of the cash on Montana State. Probably not an accurate cash percentage, but I would lean to taking the points with Montana State in that game. And then the hilarious game that I was talking about, the finale in Hawaii at midnight Eastern or 11:59 Eastern, just so it can be considered to be a game on this particular calendar day. Mississippi Valley State, probably the absolute worst team in all of Division I, such that Hawaii is almost a 42-point favorite here, and I think the biggest favorite on the entire board. Absolutely hilarious, since Hawaii is not good. Ken Bum has Hawaii actually in the top 100 at the very least. So there is that at least. But hilarious that Hawaii is a 42.5-point favorite. You're never going to see that again. I expect them to win easily, but I don't know if they're going to cover this. I mean, it's Mississippi Valley State gets to go out to Hawaii and play. I mean, Mississippi Valley State, as usual, their only win is against the Mississippi College of Women, which is the case every single year. And it's actually a men's basketball team, believe it or not. I mean, Mississippi Valley State has the cool Delta Devils logo, but that's about it. They are terrible. It's just, I just thought I would point it out because it's hilarious. I don't really have an opinion on that game, but yeah. Let's move over to the NHL. Yeah, Cokeheads trying to get their Coke money back in that one. Yeah, that is a degenerate special for sure. Like, I don't know why you would want to have money on the spread in that game. I mean, oh man, takes a special person to do that, I think. Unless you really have an angle on it. We only have 4 games here in hockey. The first game up, I won't waste time. First game up is going to be one of my plays where I disagree with Dirty Sock. More best bets, whatever. Let's put the icon back out again. We're going to go with the New York Rangers here. You know my rule with the New York Rangers. They're plus 125 here. Getting them as a pretty good underdog here. The money is agreeing with this. Tampa down from minus 150 to minus 140. 76% of the tickets, 71% of the cash. So less of the money on a public Tampa Bay side that's getting more of the public tickets. You know my rule. Rangers are on the road. So what do you want to do? You want to be on the Rangers on the road. The Rangers 7-1-1 on the road. And guess what? What did they do in their last game? Oh, yeah, they finally won a home game. It was their first home win. So I actually think that's a positive momentum-wise. It was against a Nashville team that just never seems to win. It figures that Nashville would be the first team to lose to the Rangers in Madison Square this year. Rangers, they finally get that monkey off their back, man. They scored 6 goals after they had 7 losses and 7 tries at home, and they failed to score a goal in 5 of those 7 losses. They finally got a blowout win, a convincing win at home. I think that gets that monkey off their back, and now they get to go out on the road and focus on hockey. I think it is a focus spot. And again, they've been really good on the road so far, but I think that's going to be good momentum-wise. It's probably going to help them just start winning games at home finally, too, because finally they don't have to hear about it anymore, about how they can't win at home. They're going to be focused because Tampa Bay is pretty good, although Tampa Bay is actually not that good at home, 4-3-0. I mean, mediocre at home. Rangers, again, very, very excellent on the road. For whatever reason, I guess because it alleviates the distractions. And Rangers don't have anything upcoming, so they're going to be focused on this. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay, they've had multiple days off. They've been off since Saturday, and I do not think that's a good thing when they've won 2 games in a row against good teams, and they've won 7 of their last 8 games. I think they're too hot right now, and you don't want to have time off when you're hot because that will tend to cool you off a little bit. And they just beat. Look at these games that they played recently. They beat Vegas in overtime, starting back on October 26th. They beat Nashville. That's the only whatever win in here, really. They beat that was on the road. They beat Dallas back at home in overtime. Went back out on the road. Won in elevation against Utah. Came to within 1 goal of Colorado on the road in elevation. Went to Vegas in a revenge spot for Vegas and beat them even bigger. 6-3, came back home, which should have been a negative spot on the return home spot. Nope, they won again against Washington. Another pretty big win, even though I know I went with Washington yesterday. And part of my handicap was that they might get overlooked last night, but I still think that's a pretty big win. I still think the Rangers, I mean, they're just so mediocre this year that they do get overlooked. And who does Tampa play next? Oh, yeah, on Saturday, they got the Florida Panthers, who are the returning champs. They're also the team that eliminated Tampa Bay from the playoffs last year, and Tampa Bay has not played them yet, and they're, of course, Tampa Bay's geographic rivals, so I don't think there's any overstating how big that game is going to be against Florida for them, so I think that's a major look-ahead spot to Florida for all of those reasons. And again, playoff revenge, of course, is actually pretty huge. That was part of the Washington angle, a big part of the Washington angle last night. But yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? I'm right about that, right? Tampa Bay was, they got eliminated by Florida, because that was part of my bracket there. I had Florida winning the whole thing. Yeah, that's going to be a huge game. The Rangers are the right side in this game. You get them as a nice underdog price. I think that's the best hockey play on the board. New York Rangers. Edmonton at Philadelphia. Edmonton, mediocre start to the season, man, but they're coming off an overtime win against Columbus. So they did bounce back from that horrendous 9-1 loss to Colorado, even though, yes, Colorado is very good, which I thought last 2 years, I thought Colorado was like maybe even the best team in hockey, but, they just don't win in the playoffs. What can I say about Colorado? But still, nice bounce back from Edmonton to break a losing streak. So that is kind of a positive, and now they're going out on the road with, I think, some new positive momentum. So I wouldn't say it's a negative spot for Edmonton here in this one. Who does Edmonton play next? Columbus, again, who they just beat, so that's not really a look ahead either. So it's not a negative spot for Edmonton here. For Philadelphia, they did just return home from a quick road trip. It was only a 2-game road trip, and they played tough against Ottawa, lost in overtime. Now they've had multiple days off, though, so they do have some rest here, having not played since Saturday. So they do have some more rest here. It is it is Edmonton coming in, so I think they will still be focused here, even though that was a big game against Ottawa, which they lost. Probably going to get Vladar back in net this time, so at least for Philadelphia, that is their top goaltender. The money is saying Philadelphia here. I won't disagree with it, but I don't think it's a bad spot for Edmonton. Edmonton down from -140 to -127 on the money line. 59% of tickets, 95% of the cash on Philly. So it's a pretty strong market read on Philly, but situationally, I just don't really see it. Again, I think it's actually a positive spot for Edmonton. So I actually think the under might be a better look in this game. When would I ever say that in hockey, right? But the money is agreeing with that. 71% of tickets on the over, 61% of the cash on the under. Total did flip from 6 juice to the over to be juice to the under. I know very, very tricky to want to play an under in a game with Edmonton because they score a lot. They give up goals. Philadelphia, not good. They're not good defensively or at goaltending either. So it seems very, very strange that you want to play an under in this game, but I think just because it's a focus spot for both teams, that would kind of be my opinion there. Buffalo against Utah. This one was close to being a play for me on Utah. Buffalo... This one was close to being a play on Buffalo for me. On Buffalo. I do not agree with Utah in this game. Buffalo, my mistake. Buffalo... They're on this bad stretch right now. They've lost 3 more games in a row. They've lost 6 of 7. They've been kind of embarrassed, losing by 3 goals in each of their last 2 games. And by the way, prior to that game, they lost at home to this Utah team. So this is going to be one of these quick revenge spots. And it's road revenge, which I know in hockey, the home revenge is actually a little bit stronger, I think, early in the season. But I still think a quick revenge spot is a good motivating factor, and it means the other team might overlook you a little bit because they just beat you, especially when Utah knows that they just went into Buffalo and beat Buffalo. They're not really going to take Buffalo seriously here. I think Buffalo will get up for this game because they did just lose at home to this Utah team. Utah also not playing well right now, losing 5 of 6, but they're the team that's returning home from a road trip. Buffalo just started a road trip. And they played 1 game on the road trip so far. For Utah, they're returning home from a road trip, where they started the road trip by winning at Buffalo. Now they're returning home, and I always talk about it, the return home spot. It's a distraction spot. You come back home, you have to get back to family life, you got stuff to do. The last time Utah was in that spot, they lost 4-2 to Tampa Bay. So that spot kind of caught up to them at that point. I know that was an even weirder spot because they had to go back out on the road. Although in this case, they only have 2 games on this homestand. But if they're going to pay attention to 1 game on the homestand, it's not going to be Buffalo, because they did just beat Buffalo again. The Islanders have played a little bit better than Buffalo this year. So I think it will be the Islanders that they might have more focus on. So yeah, I like Buffalo in this game. The money seems like it agrees with it. 79% of tickets and only 70% of the cash on Utah. I kind of want to play this, to be honest. Utah up from -180 to -190 now. If we can make our own -1 puck line, what does that look like? On the fly here, let me see, because I like to fade these spots, dude. Let me see. We're looking at Man, are we really going to have 3 hockey plays here? Am I going to have to put out this many fucking Instagram videos? Let me see here. Yeah, Utah's very public. We're looking at plus 164 on the money line. That's a pretty big money line. And then as far as the spread, we're looking at plus 1.5 at minus 150. You can make your own plus 104 odds on a plus 1 puck line here. Yeah, fuck it. 3 hockey plays, whatever. We're going to have so many plays today, man. I think we're going to have 11 plays today. I don't know why, but I just like these spots. NHL, we're going to be on Buffalo, plus 1.5 at minus 150. And the other one was what? Plus 170? Is that what I said? No, plus 164. Yeah, okay. So make your own puck line on that one. Buffalo, make your own plus 1 puck line. It comes out to about, to make this even, it comes out to about 180. Well, given that I usually bet to win 300, so it'd be 180 out of the 300 would be on the minus 150 puck line part of it. So that's whatever percentage of it that is. That's 60%. That's an easy split. 60% on the puck line, 40% on the money line is the way I would split that. That's that play. Screw it, man. We're going crazy. And then finally, New Jersey and Chicago. I do like New Jersey in this one. 65% of tickets, 77% of the cash on New Jersey, even though they dropped a little bit from minus 155 to minus 150. At this price, I would say knock the price down and do New Jersey to win in regulation at minus 105 or so is what I saw on DraftKings. Unfortunately, Action Network doesn't really know how to track the 3-way hockey bets. They got to fix that shit because I track all my stuff there. If you want to play New Jersey on the money line, you could do that too. I would say if it drops to below 150, I would actually say maybe that's where you want to go because I think that's in the price range that I just like a little bit more. Let me see. What are we looking at with the Devils here? I still don't see it. I see it minus 150 is the best still. So I'll still recommend knocking it down to minus 105 on the regulation play here. Hopefully we get it done here. The odds makers are telling you something, man. Even though Chicago has a good record right now, New Jersey's is better, but the odds makers are telling you Chicago is not as good as their record indicates. They're telling you not to buy into that. As far as New Jersey, they did just lose to the Islanders. I know they played 3 straight overtime games, but losing at home, now you get to go out on the road. I think it's a positive spot to just get back to it. Go out on the road. It'll be Allen in net for them likely this time because they're just alternating between him and Markstrom. Hasn't really been a big difference between the two, so that's fine. I think they'll be focused. Again, when you lose at home and you go out on the road, you usually want to kick off the road trip on the right foot. So I like that. And for Chicago, you know what I'm about to say. This is a horrible scheduling spot for them in the fact that they're returning home from a road trip that they've been on since Thursday, October 30th. So they've been away for close to 2 weeks on this road trip. That's insane, dude. And now they're coming back home from that. And not only that, but they finished the road trip with a 5-1 blowout win in Detroit as a big underdog, where I thought Detroit might be up for that game. Detroit, nice favorite in that one. And Soderblom was in net for Chicago in that game too. Not Knight. Knight is their top goalie, and he'll be back in net for this one. So not only is it a return home spot, but I actually think it's kind of a letdown spot, even though, yeah, you could argue that they'll be focused on New Jersey here too. But, man, I mean, I don't know about that, man. And they do have Toronto up next. And Toronto is always pretty big, man. Toronto, I mean, also that's an original 6 matchup between Toronto and this is an original 6 sandwich, by the way, because Chicago was one of the original 6 teams. So was Detroit, and so was Toronto. So this is an original 6 sandwich right here. That's what they should call it at Subway, the 6-inch sub. You can go get Jared Fogel's original 6-inch, man, in a conjugal visit. But yeah, I don't think it's a good spot for them, man. I mean, as weird as it is to say, it's possible that they take New Jersey less seriously than the other 2 teams here. Again, the return home spot tends to come with its distractions. I know they've had a couple of days off, but the couple of days off can also burn that winning momentum that they've had too. I don't like this. I like New Jersey. in this game. Bad spot for Chicago. We're going to go with it. The New Jersey Devils on the money line there. And the other original 6 teams, by the way, of course, my Boston Bruins and the New York Rangers. Got to get that right. So, yeah, the Devils will be that play. Sabres plus 5.5, laying 8. Yeah, you have to lay 8,000 on it, minus 8,000. So that means you have to lay what? That means you have to lay 8,000 to win 100. Is that what that is? Oh my God. I would not recommend that. Let's just put it that way. Anyway, all right, NBA. NBA is going to be light for me today, even though it's a bigger NBA slate. There's only one game that I like. You might be able to guess it. Maybe you can't. Maybe you can. All right, this video is probably going to be, hopefully we can get it to under 2 hours. We'll see. As far as these games, some of these games, I don't even know if I want to talk about them because they're like, I just don't give a shit. Milwaukee at Charlotte. I mean, Milwaukee's a decent-sized favorite here. They just won barely at Dallas. I don't know if maybe that's going to have Milwaukee maybe in more of a bounce-back mode here because Dallas hasn't been playing well, and that was kind of an ugly game for Milwaukee there at Dallas. Second straight road game here now for them. Charlotte probably will get up for this game, though, against the Bucks. But Charlotte did just play somewhat tough against the Lakers, although didn't cover in a game that I think they should have covered. They didn't cover our game against Miami the game before that either. But that was a return home spot against the Lakers from a small road trip, though, a short road trip. I still leaned to Charlotte in that one. And then now they're coming off that game. I still think Charlotte's going to be focused here. I mean, the money is saying the Bucks here. They're up from 5 to 5.5. 60% of tickets on the Bucks. Excuse me, 60% of the cash on the Bucks. 76% of the tickets on the Hornets. Big time pros versus Joes disparity in the market right there. I mean, I guess I won't disagree with it because Milwaukee is the better team, and it looks like they should be focused coming off an ugly game. So I guess I'll agree with the market, but I don't have a strong opinion. The next game is my strong opinion. You could probably guess it. You could have guessed it. As the Pistons whisperer, after we got the Pistons right going against them in the previous game, we're going to go with the Pistons, even though usually I'm good taking the Pistons as an underdog. We're going to take the Pistons as a favorite in this one. Minus 2.5 here. Hopefully you can get the best number on this that you can. If you want to take the money line, you can do that too. The money's totally disagreeing with me on this, and this is what I have to say to the market in this one. It looked like it was agreeing with me earlier. These early market reads are just ridiculous, dude. Pistons are up from 2 to 2.5. 89% of the tickets on them. 64% of the cash coming back on Chicago. I do not agree with Chicago in this game, even though the public is probably going to be on Detroit because they have the much better record. Chicago's just started to kind of regress, which was kind of expected. Although we're looking at potentially Cade Cunningham not playing in this game, so something to keep in mind here. I would actually like this. Like, if he doesn't play, you get a better number on Detroit because of it. So Cade Cunningham. He did play 45 minutes in that last game, but if he doesn't play, it's going to be an injured player theory spot because it'll be the first game with Detroit without Cade Cunningham, right? So he's a game-time decision. Giddey is also a game-time decision, but I actually like that side of it because Giddey didn't play in Chicago's most recent 1 or 2 games. So if he comes back, that's going to be the reverse injured player spot on the side of Chicago. So we have a lot of moving pieces here. I think you could probably lay this now or lay Detroit money line on this because I don't know if the price is going to drop on Detroit further. Maybe it will, but you got these conflicting factors here. And I actually think regardless of whether these guys play or not, even though it will affect the line, I like the Chicago side because if Cunningham doesn't play, it's going to be an injured player spot for Chicago, and that means you're going to get more value on them, which it looks like you might already be because the line, think about this. If Cunningham was going to play in this game, I think it was going to be like a 5.5 point line on Chicago, which makes sense on Detroit, which makes sense because you saw Detroit. Part of my handicap is going to be what happened in the first game of the season. Detroit was like a 4-point favorite, I think, on the road at Chicago. So how are they only 2.5 here? That's got to indicate that they're expecting Cunningham to be out. There's no other way to read that line because Detroit really should be like a 5.5 point favorite in this game, and that is what the line was going to be if Cunningham was going to play. I think Cunningham and Giddey both played in the first game of the season. Yeah, we see here they did. So they were both in there. So that's how you could kind of compare this line to that line. Well, okay, if Detroit was a 4-point favorite on the road with both guys playing, then that means that if the line is less than that at home, that must mean that Giddey is expected to play probably, and Cunningham seems like he's expected not to play. But I like that even more because if Giddey is coming back, he's like the Bulls' best player, and that's a reverse injured player spot. So that means maybe the Bulls will actually like kind of take their foot off the gas a little bit. I know they haven't played as well recently, but also they have to work Giddey back in. He has to get used to it again. The Bulls, I mean, it's almost like you can breathe a sigh of relief with your star player back. They have to build up that chemistry again, whereas with Detroit, if Cunningham is out, you know you're going to have to get a good effort out of Detroit because their star player is out. So if that's the case, you're going to get a good effort out of them. But on top of that, I think you're going to get a good effort anyway because look at what Detroit just did. We know what they just did. They just barely won against the Washington Wizards. They got taken into overtime against the Wizards, and I told you that was a bad spot. Washington was one of my plays. We got that right, and Washington almost won the game outright. So I think you've got to expect focus from Detroit after that, and that was a bad spot. Detroit had beaten Philadelphia on the road the game before that. It was a back-to-back, and they had this game against Chicago up next. It was a sandwich spot. They didn't play well in the game. They escaped with a win. I think you're going to get more focus out of Detroit here for that reason as well. And you're going to get even more focus because Detroit only has 2 losses this season. Guess who one of those losses was to? Yeah, it was at Chicago. Detroit lost by 4 in the opening game of the season. So I think they're going to remember that, and they're going to want to show up for that reason too. Also, Chicago is only 1-3 on the road, so they have not been good on the road. Detroit 4-1 at home, so Detroit has a fairly distinct home court advantage early in the season. So I like that too. Chicago's also kind of in a tough spot here, man. I mean, yes, ideally you're going to want to get up for Detroit, but they're playing 4 tough games in a row, all in different venues. They were at Milwaukee. They lost by double digits there, but then they played Cleveland to within 6 on the back leg of a back-to-back. They then played a third game in 4 days and played really close against San Antonio. It was off to a good start. Now they're going out on the road again, which I know usually you focus on your first game of a road trip, but they're zigzagging all over the place here, man. And now they're playing what is that? It's a 4th game in 6 days. I mean, that's not easy to do at all. Difficult spot for them, man. I know Detroit is playing a 3rd game in 4 days as well here, but both teams have a pretty packed schedule. They're playing a 4th game in 6 days as well, but it's better for them, in my opinion, because they're at least staying at home between these 2 games and should be in a bounce-back mode after that other loss there. So I don't buy into this money percentage here. The spot, to me, pretty much screams the Pistons here. So Pistons are my only play in the NBA today. Yep, Pissed On. Do you remember Pissed On? I think they were a band in like the 90s. They get overlooked. They were kind of like post-grunge. They had that one big song called Gray Flap. Really, really good song. Pissed On, they're still out there. I think they released an album like last year or something like that. You can go check them out. They're actually a very underrated band. Under the radar. Excuse me if I fall, but I did something courageous. Thank you for being so bold. If you remember that song, maybe nobody knows that song. I don't know. I like it. Detroit City Edition jersey debut. That could go either way, though. With these uniforms, man, I think it all depends on how good the uniform looks. And it gets subjective because if you look good in your uniform, you're going to play better. But if you look stupid, if you look bad, then you're not going to play as well. So it's hard to read into that. All right, as far as the rest of the NBA, I don't have any more plays today, by the way. I don't like the college football board with the Maction. We do have Orlando at the Knicks on ESPN at 7 p.m. Big game. I mean, it's on ESPN. Orlando still has things to figure out. They should be better than they are right now. The Knicks have won 5 games in a row. We know that Orlando's been struggling with their new tempo that they're trying out here. The Knicks, multiple blowout wins in a row. They've scored over 130 points in 3 straight games. So you got to think they're a bit overvalued here. They blew out Memphis last night, and now they're on a back-to-back. They do play Miami next. Do they really overlook Orlando here? I mean, Maybe. I mean, you got to think that there's no value on the Knicks right now, at least because they've scored so many points recently. Orlando had a day off yesterday, and now they have this one-game road trip to New York. But you got to think they're going to be focused on it because it is against the Knicks. It is on ESPN. It is. It's a single-game road trip, so those can go either way. But to me, I kind of think that it's going to be focused for the Magic here. So I actually disagree with the money in this one, too. Which is saying Knicks 72% of the cash, and they're up from 4.5 to 4.5 with juice. 53% of tickets on the Magic. I don't like that. I mean, I don't see how you could possibly be getting value with the Knicks with the role that they've been on. So take from that what you will, I guess. Memphis is playing at my Boston Celtics. Memphis played yesterday, and they're on a back-to-back and a third game in 4 days, all in different cities. They lost to the Knicks last night. They lost to OKC the game before that. Yeah, they're going to be looking for a win, but do they actually overlook the Celtics potentially now because the Celtics aren't that good right now and they're below 500? Memphis has Cleveland next. I don't know, man. Celtics sitting at 5-7. Celtics coming off a big game, though, and returning home from a road trip. They're also on a back-to-back, and they're playing a third game in 4 days in different cities and returning home from a road trip. Although they're staying on the East Coast, they're only on the road trip since Friday. Tough game. Again, the Celtics looked like they probably were going to win against Philadelphia, and they lost. Celtics could be 3-0 against Philadelphia right now, and they're 1-2. That's a brutal loss for the Celtics, though, off of that one. So I don't love the spot that the Celtics are in here, obviously. If anything, I think the spot is actually better for the Grizzlies, and the money is reflecting that. So I actually agree with the market in this one. Celtics have from 8 to 6.5. 67% of tickets, 72% of the cash on the Grizzlies, although you missed out on getting the +7 if you do like the Grizzlies there, which I slightly lean that way. Cleveland at Miami. Cleveland, they're playing Miami 2 games in a row, but so Cleveland lost in overtime to Miami in the first game, so you'd think, well, that means Miami is in a letdown spot. And while, yes, I agree, they're going to be in a letdown spot, or at least it's a zigzag spot, right? Because Cleveland lost at Miami. You got to think, well, they're going to be the team to make the adjustments. However, we're going to look at the line in a minute, and you're going to see why that is. There's going to be a lot going on in this game that might you might have to reanalyze it. Cleveland on a 4-game win streak, and they lost that 4-game win streak. Sometimes losing a 4-game win streak will hang you over a little bit. You had Miami last night. Nice. Hell yeah. Yeah, I mean, Cleveland was off beating Chicago at least. I mean, I didn't love the spot personally, but I think, did I lean to Miami in that game? I probably did, but I don't know. But if you look at this game today, Cleveland was obviously a favorite in that game at Miami. Miami's an injured team right now. Cleveland was a 7.5-point favorite. Now, if you look at what's going on tonight, Miami is a 6-point favorite. Well, why? Well, it's pretty obvious. The reason is Cleveland's just going to rest like their entire team pretty much tonight. That's the only reason why. So you're basically going to get a battle of backups in this game. 84% of tickets, only 72% of the cash on Cleveland. So the money is actually indicating on the Heat because obviously the public, they don't know anything, and they're going to see this line and think there's value on the Cavs because they're stupid. But you got to think, even if you're a recreational bettor, you have to be wondering why the Heat are a favorite here like this, especially because the Heat are still without their best players. Adebayo is still out. He's not coming back until the next game, I think. Hero is still out for a couple more games as well. So, I mean, there's something going on here, quite obviously. And that's it. Yeah, Cleveland is resting everybody. Garland came back not that long ago. He's not going to play tonight. Mobley's not going to play tonight, so one of their big men is out. Donovan Mitchell, Cleveland's best player, you had to know that was going to come. He's also out. So they're not even hurt. They're just all being rested on a back-to-back. This is the new NBA, man. It's the Greg Popovich effect where these teams just rest everybody because he was the one that started doing it. And he's a progressive moron, but not wanting to get into politics here. But, I mean, to me, that line has got to be an overreaction, though. Like, yeah, I know Cleveland's resting all those guys, but you're going to swing the line 13.5 points based off of that? I mean, to me, I don't think that there's any line value in laying the points with the Heat. So, and Cleveland, you got to think that at least the backups to get in, they're gonna actually be excited to get out there and play. That's the one thing, which I forgot to mention with, like, the Jets over the weekend, the New York Jets. Like, when you have a team where, like, in their case, they traded people away. In this case, Cleveland's resting guys. Sometimes when those backups, they get a chance to actually start and play, they get excited and they play well. You know what I mean? Even if they're not as good, so you get effort at least sometimes out of them. This total is totally crashed, by the way, by like 11.5 points on Cavs and Heat. Although with some of these star players out, it's got to somehow affect the defense too. So probably an overreaction on the total as well. I just don't see any value in going under or in playing the Heat in this game. If anything, I would lean to taking the points with Cleveland, even though I know it is the public side. It's the bell curve situation, right? Where you have the complete idiots saying like, duh, why is Miami a 6-point favorite here? Obviously, Cleveland's the better team. Then you have the midwits, you have the dumb guys. The dumb guys saying, duh, Miami's favored by 6.5. That's just too many points. I don't know, whatever they're going to say. I think you have the idiots probably going to be on the side of, wait, what am I even saying now? I don't even know what I'm saying. The midwits would wind up being on the Cleveland side, the midwits would be on the, on the Miami side here because they're like too smart for the market. Oh, let's fade the public market read here. But then the absolute high IQ geniuses are actually on the same side as the idiots, being like, no, actually, Cleveland is the right. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, Cleveland is the right side. Yeah, so the idiots be like, 6 is too many points. Obviously, take Cleveland. Then you have the midwits like reading too much into the market, being like, no, guys, you got to market read. You gotta lay the points to the Heat here. And then you have high IQ being like, no, actually, it is still an overreaction. So take Cleveland. Yeah, something like that. I fucked that up, but you get what I'm saying. Is Cleveland partying in Miami? Maybe prior to the first game, maybe. I don't know. I mean, I don't really see that. I mean, that's more of an effect in like college. Like, oh, this team is going to party somewhere. I mean, it depends. It kind of depends. It becomes more of an effect if it's an environment where you're just not used to playing. Like, this isn't going to be one of those. Like, Cleveland plays in Miami every year, and they're a professional team. I don't think that happens, but like, it happens in like bowl games where teams go out to Vegas that are like kind of disappointed in the bowl that they're in, and they just go out and party in Vegas. I think it happens more in just situations that teams are not usually in. Yeah, that one's a very, very weird game, but I would probably take the points with the Cavs in that one if you forced me to pick a side. Washington, of course, after last night, they played really tough against Detroit. Not last night, 2 nights ago, I think. They were a huge underdog and took Detroit into overtime, so I don't think they can match that effort again coming into Houston here. I think it's a bad spot, even though they're going to probably want to, at the very least, try to match it. I don't know if they'll be able to. Houston, though, they're returning home from a road trip, and they did beat Milwaukee to finish the road trip. That's a big win, at the very least, and they might not take Washington seriously. And in a return home spot where they've been away for a week, that could come with its distractions. So I don't like the spot for either team in this one. The Rockets are up from 15 to 17. I would not lay those points. 90% of the tickets, 99% of the cash on them. I would go over in this game if I was going to play it. The total dipped a little bit down from 235.5 to 234.5. When you have teams that might be tired and or not focused, I tend to think it affects the defense more, although the lack of focus can kind of make the offense worse too. But yeah, I don't like the spot either team is in that one. Miami plays twice in New York after this. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is, like, generally they're not going to overlook Cleveland, but they might overlook Cleveland when they're playing all of Cleveland's backups after they beat Cleveland last night. It is possible that Miami overlooks them, and or, again, with the kind of the zigzag factor that's still in play, is that whatever worked for Miami last night, if they try that again, it probably won't work this time. So there's that's kind of the zigzag factor, where Miami doesn't have any adjustments to make. So, yeah. Portland is at New Orleans. Portland lost a couple of games recently. They've lost 3 of 4. They're 500 on the season now. They just lost at Orlando. kind of to me looks like maybe a bounce back spot here because they played tough against Miami the game before then. That was after beating OKC and beating Denver and playing close against the Lakers the games before that. So this Portland team, they've played well against some of the top teams in basketball, including I think they're the only team to beat the best team in basketball. So this Portland team, they're definitely dangerous. And I think in a bounce back spot here, they might actually show up focused for this game just because I think that was kind of an ugly loss against Orlando, who's just not playing well right now. The Pelicans, while they're better than their 2-8 record would tell you, Pelicans are in a return home spot here where they've been gone for a week. They went out to only Dallas, San Antonio, and Phoenix. Not exactly a long road trip, but it's a return home spot, and they do play the Lakers, Golden State, OKC, and Denver all up next. So I think it might be a distraction spot, even though a 2-8 team can't really afford to overlook anybody. But to me, I mean, it's a bad team in kind of a difficult spot, and they might be looking ahead still. To me, I think Portland might be the right side in this one. Zion Williamson is still out for another game, so the Blazers are missing, or excuse me, the Pelicans are missing him, which is not great, obviously. The Blazers are a very, very big favorite, though, up from 6.5 to 8. Pelicans getting very disrespected in the market, but the Blazers being a 500 team laying points like that on the road almost looks strange. Like, why are they laying that many points? Odds makers are telling you the Blazers are actually a fairly good team. 90% of tickets, 99% of the cash coming in on the Blazers. Celtics, I don't know, with that trade, Holiday for Simons. Holiday's the way better defensive player. I know he's older. Simons is a scorer, but I still don't like it. You know me, I like defense. Holiday definitely boosts the Blazers because the Blazers have this young core, and now they get this veteran like Holiday in there. He definitely improves them in that respect, too, where now the young players have a veteran to look to for, like, leadership there, and he's the guy that, like, runs the offense, too. 90% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Blazers. Can't really read into those numbers. Sure, they're going to be public, but I mean, I would probably still lean to the Blazers. I'm not really jumping out of my seat to lay that many points, though. New all-star format, I hate that. I mean, I don't know. It's going to be like country-based now or something like that. But I mean, the NHL one actually, well, I don't know. The NHL one got a lot of eyes on it with the 4 nations or whatever. I just think they should add more nations to it. I mean, the NBA All-Star, I just hate how they do it anyway, though. I mean, I kind of like the 3-point contests and the dunk contests. I mean, used to be really cool in the 90s. It's not really cool anymore. The All-Star game itself is terrible, though. I mean, guys just not wanting to get hurt, obviously. There's no defense. It's just stupid. FanDuel Blazers 8.5. I mean, there's not really a difference between 8 and 8.5. I mean, you missed out on the 7, though. Like, if I was going to lay the points of the Blazers, 7, it is a key enough number that I probably wouldn't want to go higher than that. I just think the number's high, although I agree with the Blazers side. Golden State is playing, who are they playing against? San Antonio. Golden State on a back-to-back, 3rd game in 4 days, traveling from Oklahoma City to San Antonio. They did get blown out in Oklahoma City last night, though, and Draymond Green was saying some not pleasant things post-game, saying that he thinks that the team is not committed to winning, which I could see that motivating the team. I mean, that's not what you want to hear, and if you respect your teammate for saying that, but he could also piss his teammates off. I don't know, because I think Green is a bit of a dick, so I don't know. I'm not a Draymond fan. I think he's an ass. I remember him back in the day in college on Michigan State. So in a way, I could see the argument that this is a bounce-back spot for some of those reasons, because it was a blowout loss last night, but it's still a back-to-back. Curry, first flagrant foul, did not know that, but that shows you there's frustration going on with the Warriors right now. But the Warriors are also an aging team. They got to get used to the fact that they're not as good anymore, man. This is not that dynasty anymore. Yeah, they're playing a 3rd game in 4 days, all in different cities. It's not exactly an easy spot for them. As far as San Antonio, yeah, they're off to a hot start, so I do think Golden State will still try to show up focused for them. They've had a day off, and they're coming back home. Kind of a weird spot where they went to Chicago for 1 game. They beat Chicago. They barely covered. I mentioned I liked San Antonio in that one. I didn't give it out as a play. I was close, and they did cover the 3.5 in that one, winning by 4. Now they're coming back home from a weird single-game road trip to Chicago, but they're more rested because they had a day off prior to that game and after it. I don't think they're going to overlook Golden State. So This is a tough read, man, but then you got to read into the fact the Spurs are up from a pick'em to a 4-point favorite. It's like, what happened? Why did that line move like that? That wasn't just all market action. We have 85% of tickets, only 65% of the cash on the Spurs. So the market read is actually saying come back and take the points with Golden State. I mean, I think both teams are going to at least try to show up focus, but you do have the fact that Golden State is terrible on the road. 1-6 on the road. All of their losses have come on the road, and San Antonio is a perfect 5-0 at home. So I'm not really looking to fade San Antonio for some of those reasons. San Antonio, by the way, I actually think they rested some of their guys yesterday. Let me look, because I think OKC did yesterday against Golden State. But let me see. Or no, San Antonio, they're not on the back-to-back. What am I saying? Golden State, I'll look into it now. Did Golden State rest? I meant Golden State, not San Antonio. Did Golden State rest some of their players here in this game? They might have. Let me see. Because Oklahoma City actually did. Oklahoma City only had two guys. They only had one starter go at least 30 minutes, and one of their bench players played 30 minutes. So Oklahoma City actually rested a lot of their guys, and Golden State actually did as well. Nobody on Golden State played more than 24 minutes in the game. So if Golden State's guys are rested as well, so the back-to-back has a little bit less of an effect. That is something you got to look at on the back-to-back as well. But still, I can't really figure out why the line moved like this unless somebody is out for Golden State, but the injury report doesn't really show it. I mean, Horford has been injured recently, but that's not going to move the line 4 points. So, it makes it look like Curry is out or something. So I don't know what's going on with this line moving 4 points unless the pick'em was wrong. I mean, the market read is saying to take the points with the Warriors. They did at least rest guys yesterday. Maybe they'll be in a focus spot because of just how ugly everything was last night. I mean, I don't know. I also tend to sometimes I don't want to play a team that has that many frustrations. That's a very difficult game. I don't know what I would do. Phoenix is above 500 now, and they're going to this struggling Dallas team. Phoenix off of a win over the Clippers, over New Orleans after they beat the Clippers twice, unfortunately. Actually, no, that wasn't one of my plays. One of my plays was against the Hawks. What am I saying? Phoenix going back out on the road to Dallas. Don't really think it's a spot where they're necessarily going to overlook Dallas, though. I mean, beating New Orleans is not really a big deal. Indiana tomorrow. I don't know if Indiana really draws your focus with them being a really injured team right now, although a lot of their guys have come back. Dallas lost 5 of the last 6 games. They did just have a close game on Monday against Milwaukee, though, so I do think the spot is worse for Dallas for that reason because they took Milwaukee basically to the limit and still lost. I think it's going to be kind of a hangover spot for Dallas. Dallas is down from 1.5 to a pick'em, so the money is agreeing with me in this one on Phoenix. 77% of tickets, only 65% of the cash. On Dallas, the public doesn't want Phoenix to the point where they're actually playing on this Dallas team. I don't agree with it. I would look towards the Suns here. Still some injuries for both teams. Jalen Green is still out for the Suns, so that's something to note. I mean, he was out for their first, he's only played 3 games this season, so he's the guy they got in the Durant trade, but he just hasn't been healthy. He just hasn't played, so I don't think that's really going to cause a shift, really. He's been out for a few games again now. For Dallas, they got to start getting some of these guys back. Derek Lively is questionable. Anthony Davis is questionable. They need these guys back. Davis hasn't played actually since the 29th. So if Davis actually comes back, because he's a big deal, I actually think that's also a reason to maybe look towards the Suns because he's the Mavs' best player, basically, if he's healthy, even though he's older. And he comes back into the lineup. He's going to have to take a little while to readjust. The team's got to readjust to him. So I think that's bad, actually, for the Mavs. So I would still fade the Mavs in that case, and maybe the line will move back up if AD is coming back, and you'll get more value on the Suns if that happens. So reverse injured player spot if that happens. Nico, not as good as Nico Medved. They should get him instead. Nico Harrison maybe should be fired. I'm rooting against the Mavs just because Adelson is their owner, and I don't think, even though owners are these, evil, rich people for the most part. I mean, I think she's a new form of evil. Don't want to get this channel nuked, though. Lakers at Oklahoma City. Big game. This is on ESPN for a reason, obviously. This is the second of the doubleheader. This is the bigger of the two games. 9:30 p.m. Eastern. The Lakers had a day off. They're coming in after beating Charlotte, getting back on the winning side. It's not a bad spot for the Lakers, really. You know they're going to show up, but OKC is dominant. And even though OKC is on a back-to-back, it was an easy win for them yesterday. And again, they rested their guys because I think they realized that they were playing this game today. So that's why they did that. So their guys are not totally unrested here, even though, yes, they played about half of their usual minutes yesterday for the most part. And it is the third game in 4 days for the Thunder, but they are staying at home. They've been dominant at home over the last couple of seasons. They're 5-0 at home to start this season, but the Lakers have been really good on the road, 5-1. So I would actually probably take the points with the Lakers here, but the money disagrees. 66% of tickets, 99% of the cash on the Thunder, up from 6.5 to 7. I would probably take the points with the Lakers, though. I mean, they're good on the road, and they at least have more rest here, even though I know Oklahoma City's not as unrested as they could be. Atlanta at Sacramento. Atlanta's still without Trae Young, still without their best player, but they're actually playing pretty well right now. So maybe looking to fade them when he comes back in the first game that he comes back. They're already in California because they won against the Clippers. That was the game that we lost on the show on Monday, and now they're just traveling up to Sacramento. Not really a terrible spot for Atlanta, though I guess you could argue, well, they just pulled off an upset on the road. So is it a letdown spot, though? I don't know. They might not focus on Sacramento that much, though, because Sacramento's playing pretty poorly right now. But Sacramento's had a really, really difficult schedule, too. So at this point, I don't think they're as bad as they look. And Sabonis missed a bunch of games. He's been back for 2 games now, I think. So he's going to play. He's their best player. But look at the recent stretch they've been on, man. I mean, there's been no let-up here. I mean, after they opened the season with Phoenix and Utah, they had to play Lakers, Thunder, Bulls, Bucks, Nuggets, Warriors, Thunder, T-Wolves, Nuggets. They played the most difficult schedule in the NBA right now. So I think at this point they're probably undervalued, but they are on a back-to-back, although they are staying at home. They lost to Denver in a blowout last night, and I think they didn't actually rest their guys. I think if you look, most of their guys actually played like a full workload for the Kings here. So a lot of the guys did. Sabonis got a little bit less, though, actually. So some of their guys got a little bit of rest. They dipped into their bench a little bit. Their bench, they actually have a decently deep team, the Kings do, with Westbrook, even though I don't think he's a good team player. He's old now, but he's coming off the bench as of now. Plays a lot of minutes, and Malik Monk also does. So, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, I would probably take the points with the Kings in this one. The market read says to do it. The Hawks up from 3 to 3.5. 58% of the tickets on the Hawks, but 98% of the cash on the Kings. Don't love the back-to-back situation, but, I mean, I think there might be some value in playing them as a home underdog at this point here. Yes, Sacramento, they're not really, their offense and their defense have really not been that good, but I still think they're better than they look right now. And then Nuggets Clippers is the final game here. The public is going to be on the Nuggets in this one. I mean, they're 8-2. They're obviously a legit team, but they're on a back-to-back, although they had some rest prior to that. But for them, in that Sacramento game, did they play everybody for their full minutes? Yeah, I mean, for the most part, they played most of their guys got big minutes. Jokic pretty much played a full complement of minutes. So did Murray, Gordon as well. So the Nuggets, in kind of a true back-to-back here, they got to travel down from Sacramento to L.A., staying in the same time zone. But they do have Minnesota up next, which is a big game, although they did already beat Minnesota once. But that's a big game, and there's a little bit of a rivalry there at this point between those two teams. And I think it was playoff revenge for the Nuggets, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. No, not preseason, postseason. No, I'm wrong. They lost to Oklahoma City last year. Yeah. My mistake. But the season before that, I think they lost to Minnesota in the playoffs, if I remember correctly. But whatever. I mean, that's a big game against Minnesota up next, so it's possible. Denver in a back-to-back, feeling pretty good right now in 5 straight wins. They might overlook the Clippers here with Minnesota up next. Excuse me, not Minnesota. Yeah, I didn't want to click on Minnesota, but yes, Minnesota is their next opponent. For the Clippers, they're on a bad stretch right now, man, 3-7, but the fact still remains that they do have all 3 of their wins at home. These are like two trains going in opposite directions, but being the streak buster, It might happen here. I'm not giving it out as a play, but maybe it will happen here for the Clippers here. Clippers, they did get James Harden back, but I think he's been back for 2 games now, so it wasn't the reverse injured player spot or whatever you want to call it, because he missed 1 game for personal reasons, which I think was the first game against Phoenix. But he's back for a couple of games now. They should start playing a little bit better here. They're staying at home, and that was kind of an ugly loss against Atlanta, so I do like this. And if Denver, if their win yesterday was bigger than a win against Sacramento, I would probably go with the Clippers here as a play. I still agree with that side. Nuggets up from 2 to 3, 67% of tickets and cash on the Nuggets. I would still take the points with the Clippers if I was going to do it. And let's go to college football, which is all MACtion. Before I get out of here, we have 3 games here. And the first game on the board is absolutely horrible. Yeah, Clippers have lost 5 in a row. Nuggets have won 5 in a row. This might be the spot where the streaks get ended all in one swoop. I would not be shocked if the Clippers won. First game up in MACtion. This is just pathetic, dude. Northern Illinois is at UMass, and Northern Illinois is bad. And UMass is so bad that Northern Illinois is an 11-point road favorite here, up from 10.5 to 11. UMass is actually taking some of the money, 60% of tickets, 74% of the cash coming in on UMass. It's also a low total, sitting at 43.5. These 2 teams are both really, really bad on offense. Northern Illinois, all they do is run the football. They can't throw the ball. UMass can't do anything. So probably expected that this game will, I think an under kind of makes sense in this game, even though you see 60% of tickets on the under, 53% of the cash on the over. But I just see this being a putrid game. Where again, both these teams are just bad. I would lean to taking the points with UMass as well, just because there's no way I would lay a double-digit spread on the road with a team that doesn't throw the football. They just don't really have the ability to blow teams out. Northern Illinois, their only wins on the season. They did win by margin against Ball State, though. That was at home, and they were able to do it by 14. Ball State also stinks, even though their record makes them look a little bit better than they actually are. As I mentioned last night. But this Northern Illinois team, their only wins are at home barely against Holy Cross and then at home against Ball State. Yes, they did get a cover for us against Maryland on the road. So they actually played decently in that game. And they played pretty well against San Diego State as well. So holding them to 6 points. So Northern Illinois, they played decent defense at the very least. They're coming off a horrendous loss to Toledo, though. Toledo's better than the record looks, though. They still might be the best team in the MAC, even though it doesn't show it on the record. So maybe Northern Illinois is still in a little bit of a bounce-back spot, though, after that embarrassing loss. They don't have a whole lot left to play for. Neither of these teams are going anywhere. UMass is going out of Division I. That's how bad they are. Not only have they not won a game, but they've only had one game where they were close to winning, and it was against FCS Bryant at home, and they couldn't even win that game, losing by 1. This UMass team is historically bad. They're the worst team in FBS football, and they're so bad that they're losing 42-6 to the next worst team, basically, which is Kent State. Although I know we saw Kent State surprisingly win last night by a large margin. UMass is also coming off a blowout loss, and I think they've had 1 extra day off because they played on Tuesday against Akron. They do get to host a game on ESPNU, at least. This is going to be their first midweek primetime game. So, both teams, I think, are going to try to save themselves from embarrassment here. I think the under makes more sense, but as far as the side, yeah, I would probably still take the points. UMass, it'll be, as a member of FBS, this will be their only isolated primetime game that they get to host ever before they drop down to, I think they're dropping out of Division I entirely, I'm pretty sure. I think they're actually going to drop all the way down to Division III, I heard. Is that even correct? I don't know. That just doesn't seem right because UMass are a Division I basketball program, and they're decently competitive. Not as much as they were when they had John Calipari as coach and Marcus Camby there, but still. Yeah, I mean, I would take the points with them, but that game is just, I would not want to have anything to do with it. That game is horrible. Clippers are old. Yeah, the Nuggets are somewhat old too, though. UMass, Zach, you like UMass? I don't know why they're your favorite team, but your favorite football team? That's really a little bit crazy. JC, what's up? Thanks for hanging out. All right, the other two games here. These other two games are a bit better. Toledo and Miami, Ohio is probably the best game. And Toledo up from a 3.5-point favorite to a 4.5-point favorite on the road, with the public coming in on the home underdog. And I talk about how that's a red flag when the public is playing not only an underdog, which they don't usually do, but a home underdog, and the money is saying otherwise. There's something going on there. The odds makers are telling you Toledo is the better team over Miami, Ohio by enough that they're laying points on the road. 68% of tickets, only 60% of the cash on Miami, Ohio. So the cash, again, is saying Toledo here. And by the way, I did forget to mention that Kent State, part of the reason why they won yesterday, although it actually went into overtime, Akron came all the way back in that game. Kent State was blowing them up. But that's actually a rivalry. I mean, so many of these teams were in Ohio, but Kent State and Akron are actually like some sort of rivalry there. So whatever. Toledo is also in Ohio. Miami, Ohio is also in Ohio. Though Miami, Ohio is coming off of their biggest rivalry, I think, against Ohio. I think that's kind of the big deal there, where those teams both don't like each other. Miami, Ohio actually had a chance to get revenge for last year's MAC championship, where Ohio blew them out, and Miami, Ohio fell just short in this game and lost a 5-game win streak in doing that. So I don't love the spot for Miami, Ohio here, even though they're still a one-loss team and they could still make the MAC championship here. And after last night, Ohio is actually behind them. Miami, Ohio does have a little bit of, they have an extra day off, at least because they played on Tuesday, but I think it's going to be difficult for them to get back up off the mat after that Ohio game. Makes it a little bit difficult. Toledo is under the radar, man. Both teams are one win away from being bowl eligible, though both these teams tend to make bowls more often than not because so many teams make bowls, and they're usually some of the better teams in the MAC. Toledo has one fewer day of rest than Miami, Ohio does. I don't think it really matters. They beat Northern Illinois back on last Wednesday, and I don't think anybody cares about that. This Toledo team, they're very, very underrated right now, though. I know their conference record looks bad. They have 2 conference losses, but they're still, I think, actually the best team in the MAC, believe it or not, like power ratings wise. They had these weird losses on the road to Western Michigan and to Bowling Green. They were a favorite in both games, and they lost both of them by 1 score. Just kind of weird. So it makes Toledo look worse than they actually are. Toledo's had some other losses in there. Of course, they weren't expected to beat Kentucky, but they actually played them tough on the road. And then weird just travel spot going out to Washington State. I thought it was a good spot for Toledo to beat Washington State, because Washington State was also coming all the way back from cross country after having played a bunch of big games. Toledo couldn't get it done there, but still they had to go to the Pacific Coast, which is always kind of weird. But yes, I think Toledo is the right side here. I think they are the better team, which again, the odds makers indicating that that's the case, even though the records make it look completely the opposite. And the public is coming in on the Miami, Ohio side. I would fade the public in this one. I would look towards Toledo. And Toledo, I don't know if they really have a shot at the MAC title game right now, but they could also spoil Miami, Ohio's chance at it by winning this game. Both teams are going to want to show up, but I do think the spot's a little bit better, and the market read says Toledo here. That's what I would do. I don't quite want to make it a play, though. And then Buffalo and Central Michigan. Public is on Central Michigan, 81% of tickets and only 66% of the cash on them, even though they went up from 1.5 to 2. The money is saying fade Central Michigan here. Central Michigan, they've played well this year, kind of unexpectedly well. They could make a bowl again this year. I don't know when the last time they made a bowl was. They might have made one last year. They're usually kind of like a middling MAC team. Central Michigan, though, their offense is pretty bad. Like, all they do is run the football, and sometimes they don't even do that well. So the Central Michigan team, they're not good at scoring points, I'll tell you that. And they do have extra rest. They last played on Saturday, November 1st, so they have extra time off coming into this game, and they did lose to one of their rivals, Western Michigan, going into that, losing by 3 points on the road. Not a bad result there. They're still looking to become bowl eligible, which they may be able to do next week against a bad Kent State team. So they'll probably be able to get it done in one of those two games. They probably won't beat Toledo in their final game, but we'll see. I mean, it is at home at the very least. So I don't think any of these teams are playing their final home game today, like with Western Michigan last night, which was part of the handicap last night, senior night. But Central Michigan, yeah, I mean, they have extra time off to bounce back from that loss, so that's not necessarily a negative. I do think Buffalo is the better team, though. Buffalo also sitting at 5-4. Buffalo has a shot to make the conference championship game, which Central Michigan, technically they do because they have 2 losses and there's still this big cluster here, but I don't know if they will, although it might motivate Central Michigan a little bit more, the fact that they're facing Buffalo here. Buffalo is coming off a win, and they also had extra time off. But because they're coming off a win, I think it's kind of like that bye situation where you don't want to go into a bye on a winning note like Buffalo did, although it was only a win over Bowling Green, which is not saying much, but it was on the road. It was a blowout win. So I think Central Michigan actually might be the team to use the bye a little bit more to their advantage here. Interesting. So, yeah, I mean, to me, actually, yeah, I mean, I think actually if I would give a side on this, I would actually probably lean against the market, and I would actually probably say Central Michigan, actually. Even though I think Buffalo is the better team, I think the spot with the way the bye's set up or whatever, it was, I guess, kind of a bye. I don't know, whatever it is. I think it was a bye because they didn't play this Saturday. Now, this is technically the next week. So I kind of actually would lean to Central Michigan, and under, I think, is actually worth a look in this one as well. I think under is actually maybe worth a look in all 3 games, to be honest. In the Toledo, Miami, Ohio game, it dropped to 45.5 juice to the under with 67% of tickets, only 58% of the cash on the over in that one. Could be more of like a playoff atmosphere in that one. Although those teams actually have pretty capable offenses, so I'm less tempted on that one. This game, Central Michigan's offense is one-dimensional, and it's bad. And Buffalo is good at stopping the runs. That is a concern if you do like Central Michigan, is Buffalo's defense matches up pretty well against them. Central Michigan's offense is pretty pathetic, and they don't really have good quarterback play at all. So that is a concern. But Buffalo, I don't think they're really prolific offensively either. 76% of tickets, 96% of the cash on the over, but I would lean towards an under in that one. That's going to do it. You don't care about UMass? Okay. Was my valedictorian speech controversial? It's online. I think we played some of it on Tower Game, but it does dox me. It was controversial in that the first draft of it, I literally basically wrote it as a comedy routine. It was like all inside jokes pretty much. And my AP English teacher had to review all the speeches, and he rejected my speech. He was like, you have to put in something more serious here about teachers. And then I did, and it was like very not seamless. Like, people loved the speech. Like, I had people in town that I did not even know who they were coming up to me in the like months and years following that, being like, I love that speech, dude. I was like, oh, thank you. Because most speeches are just horrendously boring and whatever, and mine was not. So at least there was that. But I put in, there was just stuff that just seemed like it didn't belong there. So I'm like telling jokes at one moment, and then I'm like, oh yeah, by the way, teachers, were able to like mold our minds and whatever, like just some BS in there. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was not like offensive, but it was a bunch of inside jokes, and some weird stuff like about like all my nicknames and about I had a posse of bodyguards when I was a freshman, so they got a shout out in my speech. Some weird stuff in my speech, but not offensive really. Back then politics weren't even really like a thing that infiltrated anything back then. So back then you could just be funny kind of effortlessly and not really have to think about what you were saying. So whatever. The chick who was second place, who I think she's kind of cool now, but like back then I think she was kind of upset about not being valedictorian. She had written her valedictorian speech years prior. And she put in more effort, I think, at school than I did. She's definitely a smart chick, though. Like, I think she went to some pretty good school. It may have even been Harvard. I'm not sure. She went to some good school, though, I'm pretty sure. I don't know what she's doing now exactly. But I laminated my speech because we had our graduation was outside, but it was in bad weather. It was like slightly raining a little bit. It was a little bit misty, so I laminated my speech She didn't laminate hers, so hers was getting kind of like rained on a little bit, which kind of messed it up too, and it was just way too serious and boring. And then the girl who came in third in my class got banned from reading her speech because the top 3 all get speeches. Her speech was about how high school sucked, basically. It was like I'm pretty sure I actually saw it because I think I talked to her. It was a weird situation where she was really, really smart, and she like basically was like, high school is not doing anything for me, and she like disappeared. Like she like stopped coming to school for like months, like during senior year or whatever. Still came third in GPA, and like, oh, you have to make a speech, and her speech was like just all about how useless high school is and stuff, and they didn't let her read it. I'm like, oh, come on, like, you got to let her read it. I'm pretty sure that I was able to. I think I talked to her. I think she showed me it, if I remember correctly, and I read it. I was like, you should have been able to read this. I was like, this is awesome. Like, yeah. No, not working at Buffalo Wild Wings. I think she's like a social worker or something like that. Like she has like a decent paying job. That chick was not an emo chick. She was just like, I don't know what she was. Like, I guess she was sort of one of those, like, I don't want to call her an outcast, but she was one of those people that just really is like just an individual. Like she didn't fall into any category really. Like, she did not dress emo. I don't think she listened to emo or whatever. She dressed like normally. Like, I don't know. She didn't really, I don't think she hung out with the emo or goth crowd really either. Like, I don't know. She just, I think she was just kind of like, yeah, she just did her own thing. And I knew like some of her brothers more than I knew her, because her brothers, some of them were in like the band scene in town, and so was I. So I knew some of them from that. So, yeah, I mean, all right, that's going to do it. All my plays today, man, ridiculous. We have a ton of college basketball. We got Oral Roberts plus the points. I know it was 9.5 when I put it in the system, and now get at least 7.5 on that, man. I would say hopefully you can. I would probably not want to do it at below 7, but that line is tanking, in agreement with me. UTSA plus 2, which now I kind of don't even like it anymore, so crap. Colorado State minus the points, 17.5, something in that range. Utah State minus 20.5, although I know it's up to about 22 now, but hopefully you can get a decent enough number on that. 1 point hopefully shouldn't matter that much, although every point counts. Oregon minus the 15.5. Seattle minus 8. I know I'm going overboard here. Nevada minus 10. Unfortunately, we did not get the best number on that. Hockey, we got the Rangers on the money line. We got Buffalo Sabres split bet, making your own +1 puck line. About 60% of it on the puck line, 40% of it on the money line. New Jersey Devils in regulation, unless the price drops into the 140s range, then I might just say money line on New Jersey. And one play, whispering on the Pistons in the NBA. We're going to go with the Detroit Pistons minus the points. Let's get some wins today. I think we have 11 plays today, which is just insane. Let's get it done, man. Maybe 12. This is not going to be a fun day of Instagram, but I think all these games are at night, so hopefully I can get them all out there, and the lines won't have moved too much because I usually put them out in the afternoon at some point. It's a lot for me to do, man, especially for me to not get paid for it. I should put money on it. Learn to Toad on Instagram. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Go check it all out. Like and subscribe to the channel here. Leave me good review on audio on Spotify and Apple. That helps me out. Give me good comments here on YouTube as well. That helps me out. Covered in Uke on YouTube is my Uke channel. And patreon.com/learntotoad. Some bonus Uke content there. Uke feed that I don't treat the patrons well. I apologize. I don't keep it up to date. But you can get requests for Uke as well, which I do. Do those. I put a couple of them up for Charles, so I still got to get them up on the Spotify feed, but they're up on YouTube and whatever. That's going to do it for now. Let's have a good day today. I got to eat. I'm hungry. Thanks, guys, for hanging out this morning, and hopefully this is good information, and hopefully we get some wins. And then, of course, tomorrow we'll be back. We got NFL resuming tomorrow with a game that I really don't like on Thursday night. It's going to start a weekend of NFL games that I really dislike. But I'm going to do, I do a lot of NFL research and college football research on Wednesdays. So that's what I'm going to be doing today to some degree. I listen to some of the professionals talk about some of the games and stuff. The guys on Wager Talk, baby, with the Bet On It show. I do listen to that, and I love when they agree with me, especially Marco D'Angelo, my favorite guy, situational handicapper extraordinaire, and horse racing expert and owner of racehorses. And you guys have shouted out VR as well, Vegas Runner, Ace, Gianni, the Greek. I like him as well, so he's on that show as well. He's very, very good at reading the market, and he has all the inside information about who's betting what, and like he runs money for the syndicates that bet huge amounts on all these different like sides and totals and stuff. So he talks about that stuff. He knows like what the money is doing in the market. And hosted by Kelly Stewart, Kelly in Vegas. The eye candy, baby. No, I like Kelly, though. She was fun to hang out with. I mean, as I mentioned, she definitely likes to drink. I will say that. But she's fun. She's pretty funny. She loves her dogs. So I have met her. Shout out to all of them. That's going to do it. Peace out until tomorrow, guys.